Come on in, Carol. Probably going to have you a little bit of explaining. Well, get a. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the regular meeting of Osoyoos Town Council, Monday, November the 7th, 2011, 2 p.m. in Council Chambers. First item would be the adoption of some minutes. We're looking for the adoption of Committee of the Whole meeting minutes of October the 17th and regular open minutes of October the 17th for adoption. Any discussion on those? They will be adopted by consensus. Any business arising? No business arising. Introduction of late items. On a repeat performance from the morning meeting, we are going to have Joe Knight do the tourist plan approval for Destination Osoyoos. So she will, don't see Joe just yet, but I think she was coming back to do that presentation. And that is the only late item. So could I have a motion to adopt, please? Cron Miller Ryan, all in favor, opposed, carried. Thank you. And that brings us to delegations. And we have the CSAT committee here, Community Sustainability Action Team. They're going to do a presentation before we get into the business portion. So I'd like to call CSAT to present Holly Plant and Len McLean, please.
All right. Good afternoon, Mayor Wells and Council. I'm Holly Plant, and to my right is Len McLean, and we're here to represent our Community Sustainability Action Team. So we want to start first and foremost by giving a big thanks to the Community Sustainability Action Team, volunteers, town staff, Mark Allison, and the Whistler Center of Sustainability. Most of all, we want to thank our community as a whole for being so invested and dedicated, and Council for having the foresight to know the importance of investing in this process to create an integrated plan with sustainability at the forefront. So I know Len and I speak on behalf of all of our CSAT members by saying this process was incredible for getting our community involved, collaborating, and opening the doors to really think big. It has been inspiring to see how many people in our community have stepped up to help out and to see that we all share such a common vision for our community. This vision and commitment to our community creating a sustainable Osoyoos is primary. The plan is secondary, but such a key tool in helping us to get to where we all know we can be. It is our hope that this integrated community sustainability plan will be accepted by Council as our overarching plan moving forward. So at this point, I would ask that you open up the plan on your computers. And if you scroll to page 5 in the plan, you will see a diagram that represents just what we're speaking of, with the ICSP really becoming that overarching plan for the OCP and all future initiatives. It really is to become the resource that when there's new initiatives to look at, it can serve as a guideline for us to really ask the question, does this fit with our 25-year plan? Will it serve our community? Will it serve our residents? So it's a great guideline, and that diagram we think does a really great job of visually showing that representation. So to move on, it goes without saying that all of us in this room are committed to not just a good, but an exceptional Osoyoos. And we would like to walk you through our process and how we have carefully arrived at this draft that we're all so proud of. So again, just to show the visual on page 8 of where we started and where we've come from with this process in the plan. We started off with our public event in January, which we were so pleased attracted over 160 people from our community to share ideas on where they saw Osoyoos 25 years from now. We really got the community to come in and to think big, and we collected all of their notes. We had different round tables. We had hundreds of sticky notes with ideas, which was just a room full of brilliance. So in February, our CSAT team met and we went through each and every sticky note to make sure all the ideas were included. And from that point, we were able to create what we refer to as our descriptions of success. So these are the key statements in our 9 strategy areas of what we truly want for our community. Of course, driven from that forum that we had in January. So these 9 areas include the lake, community and individual health, economy and work, buildings and sites, education and learning, arts, culture, heritage, recreation and leisure, land use and natural areas, transportation and mobility, and energy, resources, and waste. So I'll pass it over to Len now.
Once we figured out what our 9 strategy areas were going to be, we then tried to be as accurate as possible about our current realities so we could be very clear on what actions would be required to make our vision a reality. Our action planning exercise was inspiring. We were able to come up with so many actions for each strategy. In order not to spread our resources thin, we recognized that we would be better off prioritizing the top 3 areas based on feedback received at the community forum. Other action items are still included in the plan and will be revisited during evaluations. Back in the spring, our CSAT team felt strongly that the document was not 100% our own. This is a true testament to our passion and commitment to getting this document right and making sure it belonged to Osseous. We dug deeper into our fact-finding and content to ensure the draft was something we would all feel confident moving forward with. We are proud to take ownership of this integrated community sustainability plan, driven by a vision we share as a community. This fall, the Osseous Times, Cairo Radio, and Easy Rock supported us to get the message out to the community that the plan was ready for review and feedback. This was so everyone in our community had an opportunity to offer their comments so that final edits could be made. We look forward to our event on Thursday, December the 8th, where we will present the plan to the public and create the task forces and alliances within our community to move these initiatives forward. We acknowledge there are already several groups like Destination Osseous, South Okanagan Chamber of Commerce, the Okanagan Waterfront Steering Committee, and the Okanagan Water Basin, and the list goes on, who have already taken initiative on a few of these 9 strategy areas. We both admire and commend these groups for their dedication, and moving forward, we wish to assist and offer the tools developed through this plan for success with our shared vision. Our CSAT team is committed to offering continual support to these groups, to establishing new task forces, and to ensure all 9 strategy areas are represented and ready for action. We will also be extremely mindful and use all of our indicators moving forward so that we can carefully measure our success. It is our hope that you will accept this plan as the overarching plan for the town of Osseous moving forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's just a great report, and I just want to say how absolutely refreshing it is to have young people from this community making a presentation on behalf of CSAT and what it means to us, and that's just great. I'm really quite thrilled to have you involved with this. And we're always talking about the young folks getting involved in the community, and here's 2 of you right here. So thanks an awful lot, and I'll turn this over to council, please, for any questions. Councillors? Councillor Chadsey, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Fantastic job to you and to the whole committee, and to Jim. Thank you. Just give us some more details on December the 8th so that the public is aware. Where it is, what time, etc.
All right. So the format for December 8th is going to be very similar to the format that we had in our last community forum. So it will be open to the public. It will be held again at the Sonora Center, and it will be set up in such a way that we will be presenting, giving a summary of the plan, and really it will be an open forum for a lot of these groups that we've referenced, such as Destination Osseous, the South Okanagan Chamber, to prepare some of the initiatives and some of the things that are already being done in the 9 strategy areas. But most importantly, it will be calling upon participation from the community. a lot of people have stepped up to us and said, hey, we want to be a part of this task force. We are passionate about this. When the time comes, what can we do to get involved? So for all of the people that have communicated that, this is something that we really want to hold everyone to it and to really see that support out. And because in those 9 strategy areas to move forward, we really need the help of our community. And so we'll really be using that as an excellent opportunity to start assembling those task forces and really putting this plan into action. So it kicks off with a celebration for our community in embracing this plan, and it goes into the next steps of let's get right into action and let's start moving forward with this. So the actual time slots will be announced to the public. We'll again be using the website, the radio, and such, and the Osoyoos Times to get the specific details of the invitation out. But it's something that we are encouraging. If it's someone new to the process, come out, bring a friend, bring someone from work, however you want to do it, but come out and you know, really get involved, because we're going to really make this happen, and it's just so exciting seeing all the pieces come together right now.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Plant. Councillor Rose, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So congratulations. Great job. Congratulations to everybody that was involved in it. When we had our forum several months ago, I knew that we were on to something. The people that showed up there and how everybody interacted on that Friday night and the Saturday following, it was very, very inspiring for myself to see that. You know, it was just one of those kind of things where you felt good about it. A lot of times when you sit back and you think about these things and these projects and the money you put into it, and you often wonder what it's going to be like, you know, down the road and that kind of thing. And you often worry about these projects losing momentum as we go along, and it's always the downfall, and then they end up on the shelf with many other ones that are just come and gone and that kind of thing. But I'd like to say with yourselves, you two, and everybody else involved, I think we're in pretty safe hands, that it's going to keep going. And what a great thing for our community. And once this gets integrated into our OCP and that type of thing, it'll be a part of our future, and that's what sustainability is all about. So once again, congratulations on a great job.
Thank you, Councillor Rhodes. Anything else from Council? Councillor Ryan?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, again, I'd like to echo those congratulations and thanks. I think your report was excellent, and the plan itself is just wonderful. And I would like to call people's attention to all the detail in the plan at the back, where there's an analysis of all the different things in the community, and the assets and so on of our community, which I think maybe many of us weren't even fully aware of. But anyway, I'm sure that the next meeting in December will be like the other one, and there was just so much energy there, and the number of people. I mean, I don't think other than for some contentious development where we have a public hearing, we had so many people who were energized and in attendance. So keep up the good work, and this is so important. And you know, we all need criteria to judge things by, and so this is such a rich criterion for you know, looking at all the things that might happen in our community. And so we're very grateful to you for all the energy and work that you've all put into it.
Councillor Cronmiller?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's always a privilege sometimes to follow all these people, and they probably said most of the things I would like to say, and certainly I would pass on my congratulations and thank you for the effort that you put into this. I know there were meetings at 4 o'clock in the afternoon or 5 o'clock at supper time, and so everybody could get together, and there was a lot of thought and a lot of work put into it. And you know, as I talk to people, it's always interesting how little they know about us sometimes, and that they don't realize all the plans and planning that we've done in our community. And it's so important for them to know that we have plans, that we look at the future and we plan for the future. And here's just a prime example of what we can do and how we put together a plan and look forward to where we're going and what sorts of things can we look to. And the inspiration of young people and of all the people in our community to contribute it. So it's I really look forward to the meeting in December, and having any feedback that we might have from the community, and I would encourage the community to come out and take a look at this and familiarize themselves with it on our website and be familiar with the document. And as we go forward, something that we can work with pride. Thanks again.
Thanks, Councillor Cronmiller. There is a recommended motion here. Does somebody want to move that, Councillor Cronmiller?
I'd be pleased to move it.
Okay, and that is resolved that the Integrated Community Sustainability Plan as presented be the official Town of Osoyoos Integrated Community Sustainability Plan, and that it be rolled out to the public on the evening of December the 8th, 2011. Is there a seconder, please? Councillor Rhodes. Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thanks, and thanks a lot for the great job, Ms. Plant and Mr. McLean. You can stay till as long as you'd like, or you may be excused, whichever. There is no correspondence. Oh, sorry, I don't see Ms. Knight here from Destination Osoyoos. So I think we'll just, she presented this to the council and the committee of the whole this morning. She wasn't really on the agenda. It was a great presentation, and I had asked her to come back, but obviously on short notice, she must be tied up. So we'll just eliminate that. And moving on into water matters. There's no water matters, no correspondence. Going into bylaws, Ms. Van Vienen, please, on the Good Neighbor Bylaw 1277 for adoption.
Thank you. This bylaw was originally brought forward to council for first reading back in March of this year. This bylaw is all-encompassing of several bylaws that needed updating and other bylaws that we didn't have in place. It covers street nuisances, including panhandling, property maintenance, littering, health regulations, firearms and bows, explosives and fireworks, and noise regulation. Since this bylaw dealt with maintenance along sidewalks and boulevards, which may be adjacent to either Highway 97 or Highway 3, Minister of Transportation approval was required. It was sent to them for approval on April the 4th. We finally got approval on October the 27th. We also had to send a copy to the Minister of Health under the Public Health Act, and that was done on June the 21st, and it has filed with them. All of the offenses will have an MTI fine attached, and that bylaw is also on tonight's agenda. And we are now looking for this bylaw to be adopted by council, finally.
Thank you. Do we have that resolution, please? Councillor Rhodes, Ryan, any discussion on that? Councillor Ryan.
Well, I would just like to say that it's wonderful to see this. I think this is going to be one of our most important bylaws, because what it does is it takes all those things that just drive people crazy, and it puts them into a nice little bylaw. And it's a short one, but it's powerful. And I think I just love to read the explanations. What do they call them? The definitions. Because it's got a wonderful definition of nuisance, it's got a wonderful definition of unsightly. So I would really encourage you all to read them. I know that it's not, it's not really favorite reading, but this one's got a lot of dynamism to it. So I'm proud to second this adoption.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. I guess I just have one comment here. We always talk about municipal government and local government moving so slow. In that report, it went to the Ministry of Transportation on April the 4th, came back on October 27th. No wonder that we get blamed for moving slowly here when a lot of times it's at someone else's, it's at our expense, but someone else is putting us there. Bylaw number 2, traffic amendment bylaw number 1256, Ms. Van Vienen.
We have to vote on that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Councillor Chadsey.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to, this is kind of for the public, the Good Neighbor bylaw. One of the things in here that certainly I'm not pleased about, and I think some other councillors feel the same way, is that we cannot restrict panhandling. We've restricted it to within 10 meters of a bank or an ATM or a liquor store. But it's important for the public to know that our legal opinion just states that it's not possible for the town to ban panhandling altogether. Such a prohibition on panhandling would unjustifiably infringe a person's rights to security of the person and freedom of expression under certain sections of the Canadian Charter Rights and Freedoms. And also an outright prohibition on panhandling could also likely be considered criminal law. So if you ever have the opportunity to read the bylaw and you wonder why we would even permit panhandling, it is because we have no other choice. And the only other thing I want to mention with respect to this bylaw, and I think the ones coming forward, where we say where there's a requirement for a permit or permission, I believe this one, particularly for the firearms, it says the CAO must give approval. And in the next bylaw, I think it refers to perhaps the Director of Planning, I'm not sure. But I think it would be my preference that we always have an alternate designate in case that person isn't available. So I think in the Good Neighbor bylaw, it might reference the CAO. I think that maybe the sign bylaw says the director, but always. That's right. It was the soil removal.
If I can respond, under the definition of CAO, it's the CAO or his designate. So he can designate who he wishes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We'll run through with the bylaws first, and then I'll go back. And Ms. Knight, I'll bring you in. I sort of just missed you just missed your slot. So I'll just run through these bylaws here. Bylaw number 2, traffic amendment bylaw number 1256 for adoption. Ms. Van Vienen.
Thank you. Now that you have adopted Good Neighbor bylaw, there was some additions to that bylaw that cover the snow removal on streets. We can now amend our traffic bylaw to remove that section. So that was done. Council gave that 3 readings. It was sent to the Ministry of Transportation again on after April, and we have recently received their approval on October the 27th. At the same time, this bylaw also regulates use of scooters on sidewalks. Oh. We're looking for adoption on that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Chadsey, Councillor Rhodes, discussion, please. Hearing none, all in favor, opposed, carried. Thank you. Bylaw number 3, MTI, Municipal Ticket Information Bylaw for adoption, please. Ms. Van Vienen.
This bylaw sets out the fines for all of our bylaws that have that we can attach fines to. Again, this bylaw was waiting for the adoption of the Good Neighbor bylaw and the amendment to the traffic bylaw. Council had given 3rd reading to that, and we are now looking for adoption. This will be in compliance with the new regulations under the municipal under the community charter. We've attached fines to all of our regulations.
And of course, they're all at the current figures and prices. That's right. Thank you. Mover and seconder, Cronmiller Roads. Any discussion on this? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Bylaw number 4, Soil Deposit and Removal Bylaw number 1275 from Mr. Paget, our Senior Building Inspector, please. And I guess, you know, one of the great parts of having afternoon meetings is we get to have our staff here for some of the presentations. When we were doing nighttime meetings, we never had staff here, so it's to me it's a real plus to have staff here and actually present their reports and their findings. So, Mr. Paget, please.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. In January of 2011, Council gave 1st, 2nd, and 3rd reading to the proposed soil deposit and removal bylaw. Closer to the mic. Okay. In February 2011, the bylaw was forwarded to Victoria for ministerial review. The bylaw was reviewed by the ministries responsible for energy and mines, the environment, finance, and finally by the Minister of Community, Sport, and Cultural Development. The Ministry of the Environment recommended changes to the wording of Section 4, sentence E, subsentence 4, whereby the town would have required applicants for soil removal permits to to file a contaminated sites profile directly with the MOE. The ministry suggested that we not refer to contaminated sites under Section 3, purpose, and that we change the wording of Section 4 to read that no person may deposit or remove soil as to contravene the contaminated sites provision of Part 4 of the Environmental Management Act and contaminated sites regulation. The Director of Mines from the Ministry of Forest Lands and Natural Resource Operations suggested changes to the wording of Section 5, exemptions. It was suggested that a sentence would be added that states deposition and extraction of aggregate materials under authority of a valid reclamation permit issued pursuant to Section 10 of the Mines Act are exempt for the requirements of this bylaw. The changes recommended by both ministries have been incorporated into the bylaw. No other changes were suggested by the Ministry of Finance or Community, Sport and Cultural Development. The staff is recommending that Council rescind the previous third reading of the bylaw and read the bylaw for the third time as amended.
Thanks, Mr. Pageant. Council, please. Councillor Rhodes. Councillor Ryan. And I'll just, because it does have the part to rescind, staff be directed, resolve that third reading given to bylaw number 1275 on January the 17th, 2011 be rescinded, that the soil deposit and removal bylaw 1275, 2011 be read a third time as amended. So we had Mr. Paget took us through the amendment. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. The last bylaw to be presented, Mr. Cunningham, please, on signed bylaw number 1282, 2011. Thanks, Mr. Paget.
Okay, this is staff's 8th report on the signed bylaw. Some background. Our research shows that Osoyoos is the only Okanagan local government without a signed bylaw and the only provincially recognized resort community without one. Preparation of an Osoyoos signed bylaw has gone through a lengthy gestation period, including numerous drafts, internal staff reviews, council input at a number of meetings, and community consultation. Because of the inherently controversial nature of signed bylaws, staff even took the unusual precaution early in the process of presenting council with a bylaw policy impact assessment, which surveyed existing signs along Main Street and Lakeshore Drive that could potentially become prohibited under a signed bylaw. Council gave first reading to signed bylaw number 1282-11 on April 4th and directed staff to proceed with obtaining stakeholder feedback. Advertisements were placed in the Osoyoos Times, invited interested persons to arrange an interview with staff to discuss how the bylaw could affect them and to offer any suggested improvements. 15 persons, nearly all business people, took up the offer, and a number of bylaw revisions were made in response. On September 22nd, Council gave second reading to the bylaw as amended and set a public hearing for October 11th. A copy of the bylaw is attached here. About 24 persons attended the public hearing, and an opposing petition was presented with close to 100 signatories representing themselves as local business owners. See attached text of the petition. The petition expresses concerns about, quote, the overall restrictiveness and complexity of the bylaw, and requests council to extend their public consultation process. Some specific suggestions were also made at the public hearing for further improving the bylaw. At Council's next regular meeting, after the public hearing on October 17th, they directed staff to submit a report with their feedback on A, issues identified at the public hearing regarding contents of the bylaw, and a second look at the input gained from the stakeholder interviews with recommendations on how the bylaw may be further improved. Options for further public consultation on an improved bylaw to commence after the municipal selections. That's B. This report addresses both potential improvements that could be made to the bylaw before recommencing public consultations, as well as options on how we should extend the consultation process. And these options were discussed at the COW meeting this morning, and I won't go through all of them, but I will identify by name some of all of the options that were considered by council for bylaw improvements. They were, quote, bylaw complexity, canopy signs, expiry date for sign permit, facias signs, home business sign, imperial versus metric measurements, permit fees, replacement signs, sandwich board signs, sign alterations, sign area flexibility, sign animation, sign lighting, suspended signs, and third-party signs. And as you may guess, we had a very long meeting this morning. We also looked at options for extending the consultation process, and they included liaising with our business owners committee, as in fact had been asked for in the petition. We also looked at the possibility of a special task force rather akin to the Lake Recreational and Commercial Task Force, which we'll be talking about later this afternoon, and which was a very successful model, but may not be appropriate for what we're talking about here. The third option was to continue the staff interviews, which I alluded to earlier. The fourth was a public information program, and the fifth was a public hearing. And as I advised council this morning, for legal reasons, if not other reasons, we do have to have another public hearing. The implications: A, the community. We need to advance the public purposes of our bylaw, which are to promote the town's aesthetic attractiveness as a resort community, promote effective advertising that informs rather than confuses customers, avoid excessive visual competition between signs, limit distractions from commercial signs for the safety of drivers and pedestrians, minimize nuisances from signs in residential neighborhoods, promote dark sky protection and energy conservation, and require safe sign placement, construction, and maintenance. Another implication is without a sign bylaw, we are very vulnerable to the threat of undesirable signage coming into our community. And I raised the example of the dreaded billboards. B, organizational. After all the considerable time and effort the town has invested in getting this far with our sign bylaw, we need to keep up our momentum and get the job done. Budget. Pardon me, minimal cost for posting advertisements in the newspaper. So if I could now turn to the recommendations, and they were slightly redrafted from the ones which were presented to council this morning, so I'll now read the new recommendations, of which you all have a copy. Staff recommends that council direct staff to prepare a further draft bylaw incorporating possible revisions discussed earlier this morning at the Committee of the Whole meeting on November 7th to 11th, ready for discussion with the next council. The second recommendation, extend public consultation of the sign bylaw for a period leading to reconsideration of a sign bylaw at council's second meeting in the month of April 2012 at the latest, by engaging with the Business Owners Committee, continuing our staff interviews, including invitations to all business petitioners, and convening another public hearing.
Thank you. Can we move that into a resolution, please, Council? Councillor Chadsey, Councillor Ryan. Discussion, please, on moving this forward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't know why he always looks at me. We had a long discussion this morning about the results of the public hearing and the petition that was presented. And some interesting things came out from both the public hearing and the people who presented the petition. And what was clear to us was that a lot of business people have not read the draft sign bylaw. And so that is why the recommendation that we extend the public consultation for another period of time. We don't want it to be indefinite, and that's why we have chosen the second meeting in April. By the time we incorporate the changes that were discussed this morning, and the planning department gets that information out, it's probably plus or minus a 3-month window. We will work hard to make the sign bylaw available to the businesses, particularly the 100 plus or minus names that are on the petition. But the sign bylaw draft cannot just sit. It's been 6 years, and it must move forward. So I'm going to strongly encourage anybody. It doesn't matter whether you own a business, doesn't matter if you're a commercial business, it doesn't matter if you're just you're a resident here in town. Everybody has input onto this sign bylaw. And so I would urge everyone to go online and read the draft, go into the planning department. They can have a draft available for you. Ask any questions. Ask if your sign, if you're a business person, ask if your sign would be considered to be inappropriate under the new bylaw, and they'll give you an assessment. But we must move forward. So either educate yourself about the content of the bylaw and provide some input, or the bylaw will go through without your input. I can't be any more clear than that. So thank you.
Thanks a lot, Councillor Chadsey. There was some real good movement made this morning, some good tweaks on a lot of the issues that were brought forward by the public. We also had some that we don't have answers to. So there will certainly be an opportunity for public input on a couple of sort of glaring contentious issues. Look forward to having the folks come forward and offer when the time comes. And again, that consultation on your own personal sign, that's really invaluable as we move ahead. So thanks a lot. And Councillor Ryan, you had some comments?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I just wanted to commend Mr. Cunningham, because I think that he did an exemplary job of taking all of the things that not only council had said, but which came up at the public hearing, and incorporating them into his report. So I would certainly commend his report to the reading of any of our business people or anyone in the community, and also that we are listening, and I think that by having this opportunity to be in consultation with the staff, it'll give everyone a good chance to thoroughly look at this, and I'm sure we'll come out with a first-class bylaw at the end.
Thank you. Councillor Rhodes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm probably going to repeat a lot of the stuff that's been said already, but at the public hearing that we had, the one thing that was very, very obvious was the fact that many people in our community need to become very familiar with this bylaw. At the end of the day, we will have a sign bylaw. How we get there is going to be very, very dependent on the people that have input into it. So we're putting this out for quite a lengthy time period until the middle of April, so that everybody can step up to the plate, learn the bylaw, have input, and at that time we will begin the process again to integrate this into our bylaw program. And really, I've heard it from the other two councillors already. I just want to say it again for emphasis. This is your opportunity. Take advantage of that opportunity. You can be an important part of this bylaw.
Thanks, Councillor Rhodes. Councillor Cronmiller?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I won't say very much, because I think the other three have said it all, and I think that's what's really important, is that the message gets out there to the people, and particularly our business community, who always have input, but sometimes have neglected to get all the information. And I think in this case, they need to get out there and get that information. We're giving them an opportunity, but they can't have forever. So we're going to get it done by spring.
Great. Thanks, Councillor Cronmiller. Any further discussion? We have that two-item motion out there. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. That is the bylaws done. Thank you. Moving into business one, council meeting report. This is the out-of-town councillor in the amount of $100 for Councillor Ryan. Yeah. I am. Councillor meeting reports for Councillor Ryan in the amount of $100, attending an Okanagan Regional Library Board meeting in Kelowna. I have a resolution, please. Councillor Cronmiller, Roads, all in favor, opposed, carried. Next item up would be Ms. Joe Knight from Destination Osoyoos. She did this great presentation today of Destination Osoyoos and where they're going. So it was so good that I asked her to come back for this afternoon so she could get a little bit of TV time. So, Ms. Knight, please.
I appreciate being asked back. I'm not so sure about the TV time, so it's a pleasure to be here again to speak. It's a pleasure to be here once again to speak with Mayor and Council. So I'm here to ask for approval, if I may, please, on behalf of Destination Osoyoos. Number one, for our tourism advisory review for 2011, which was presented in October to the Council, and also for approval of our Tourism Market Development Plan 2012, which was presented to the Council of the Whole this morning. I will give you a brief overview for those of you that are listening and watching what this tourism plan is about, because we did present it in whole this morning. Our mission, of course, remains the same for Destination Osoyoos, and that is to develop a sustainable year-round tourism industry and all-season resort community based on the strong partnership approach to the delivery of welcoming and unique, authentic, quality visitor experiences for existing and emerging markets. This plan has been a collaborative process created in partnership with our representatives from our funding partners, who are the Town of Osoyoos, Area A, and the Osoyoos Indian Band, the Tourism Advisory Committee, which is made up of 12 volunteer tourism leaders from our community, and Destination Board of Directors, which again is made up from a volunteer board of 9 tourism leaders in addition to the 12, as well as staff. This workshop took place on October the 13th, 2011. And this plan is meant to be a companion to the Destination Osoyoos Tourism Market Plan, which was devised in 2011 in the fall by the same group of people. That is a 3-year plan. We had a number of things that had changed over the last year, so we felt that we needed to reset that plan, and all of the members that I've just mentioned have graciously decided to come together and put all of their work and their ideas together to come to a consensus, and this plan, the 2012 plan, is what we have here. So the 4 pillars of our plan remain the same from our inception of our plan way back in 2008, and they are strategic priorities are 4. 1 being the growing tourism revenue. Number 2, of strengthening the visitor experience. Number 3, maintaining a market-focused industry. And number 4, strengthening internal communication. Out of those, again, the top 8 priorities for tactics coming out of that, and I will list them all, and then that will be the end of my presentation. Will be number 1, working with the community stakeholders to strengthen events as key attractors through integrated event marketing and fostering of new or consolidated events calendar to achieve an all-season destination. Number 2, working with the meetings and conventions product sector to increase market awareness and demand for Osoyoos as a destination for meetings and conventions, and as a choice for weddings as well. Number 3, developing an awareness of the importance of the customer service and facilitating training to live up to our brand and our promise of Canada's warmest. Continuing to build brand awareness for the new trademark brand. Number 5, continuing to improve communications with stakeholders, businesses, and residents. Number 6, continuing to obtain feedback and measurable outcomes to ensure that the activities of Destination Osoyoos are market-focused and that there is a return on investment. Number 7, advocating on behalf of the tourism industry, including all sectors. And number 8, improving internal business systems to increase the efficiencies of our organization for effectiveness in utilizing scarce resources. So that is basically our 2012 plan in a nutshell. And as you see, there's lots of things to be doing, so I do need to get on with it.
Council, any comments? Councillor Rhodes?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I'll do not a full repeat of what I said this morning, but good work, Joe. My compliments to you and everybody that's involved in Destination Osoyoos on a great job. As you're aware, I was able to see this the other day, or at least the highlights, and have a little bit of input into it. This is now my 3rd time in the last week.
Are you still excited?
Yeah, never gets boring, gets better. There is a bigger package of this with a lot of the photographs of Osoyoos, and we kind of had a chance to look at a bunch of them the other day at one of the meetings, and you know, they're spectacular photos. A lot of them you wouldn't even believe that it's our town, our area, our lake, and the surrounding. So I'd really encourage people to get on board. I think those are going to be made available as for the general public fairly soon. Just real interesting. I know the cover of this is up there is just a, you know, it's hard to believe that such beauty could be in our community and that kind of thing. And I'd really like to, that's an excellent way to showcase the entire document. So, yeah, once again, congratulations on a job well done.
On behalf of all of Destination Osoyoos and our partners and our team, thank you very much. And just so that the public does know, there are 75 of those images actually available on our website right now by request.
Great. Good news. Thanks, Councillor Rhodes. Councillor Cronmiller, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Joe. It was excellent. I've been involved with Destination Osoyoos in one way or another for over 10 years, but this is just excellent. And one thing I wanted to note that I mentioned this morning, this whole program that Joe talked about today is funded by our hotel room tax. And so it's so important, and that tax coming up for renewal next year, that we see that hotel room tax renewed, because it allows us to do all these sorts of marketing things for our community, and gets our face out there. And that's what we are, a tourism destination. So we need to get out there, and great job.
Thanks for that piece of information, Councillor Cronmiller. Very important. People are always wondering where this funding comes from. This comes from the tourists, through the operators of the hotels, and is spent back on the tourists again, on getting our message out and getting Osoyoos out there. So that's great. These are not Osoyoos taxpayer dollars out there. These are the people that are coming here to spend their money in our hotel room, motel room. That's good. Thanks again. Anything further? Thanks, Ms. Knight.
My pleasure.
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Mayor, to adopt this, or receive this report and adopt it.
Okay. Councillor Cronmiller and seconder Councillor Rhodes. Any discussion, Councillor Chad?
I think they want, you want both reports, don't you?
If I may, please, yes,
Yeah.
both the review, according to our agreement, the review and the plan both need to be approved.
Okay. So do we need two separate? No? They're both on the one? Okay. So could we have that, read that out then?
Sorry.
Okay. Sharing's good.
Moved by Councillor Cronmiller and seconded by Councillor Rhodes, and resolved that the Destination Osoyoos 2011 review of achievements and the 2012 tour be approved.
Great. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Ms.
very
Knight.
much.
Okay. We now are looking at a request for relief. It's listed as CIREC. I don't know if that is the correct heading there or not. We have Ms. Youngbird here who was going to talk to it, but I don't. Yes, thank you. And I need a resolution. Why I need the resolution is because you didn't come under the delegation and we were going to deal with this differently, but now we need some information. So I need a motion to have Ms. Youngbird speak. Councillor Rhodes, Chad, see all in favor, opposed, carried. That was just a housekeeping, Carol.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. Okay.
Over to you.
Thank you again for this opportunity to present to you some of the objectives of recreating the Desert Park facility on behalf of myself and our committee. And to bring you up to date, the CIREC as it existed is now dissolved, and Desert Park Exhibition Society has been incorporated, and we have our official documents that will be given to your Chief Administrative Officer at the end of this presentation. We have requested that there is a $15,000 expense on the facility, which was which is for $1,000 per month for the last 15 months. And at the time when the negotiations, communication between the then CIRIC and the administration from the town of Osoyoos broke down, there was what indicated from the paperwork that I've been able to read, a rental of $1,000 per month. And of course, the amount of money that was generated from the facility, which is from stall rentals and RV rentals, was not enough to pay for this $15,000. By the time the income was put back into the facility by way of improvements, there we have an operating line of about $9,000 or $10,000 of cash left in the bank. So that generated the request to the town of Osoyoos, because we are now looking at a license of occupation instead of a lease. And I think through the several months of negotiations between our committee and the administration of the town, we've come together with what seems to be a pretty good arrangement between ourselves. So we're looking forward to continuing the operation of the facility. And one of the things that seemed to surface through discussions around the community is that this is a community facility. This isn't a facility that will be operated by Desert Park Exhibition Society and its members, for its members' use only. There seems to be just a little bit of misunderstanding in the community about that, so we're just trying to clear that feeling up. It is definitely the Desert Park Exhibition Society has been created for the improvement of the Desert Park facility for the community of Osoyoos. In order to create funding so that we can continue to improve it, we have to be a society and we have to conduct events. And in order to create a little bit of seed money from cash flow, stall rentals, and the RV park sites, create that cash flow so that we can pay our power bills, we can continue to improve the facility. So based on that financial arrangement that we've put together under the society, we certainly need to appeal to the town of Osoyoos for consideration for relief of that monthly rental amount, which was a little bit too much money for the organization as it stood to be able to pay. And we do not have any outstanding debts. We have paid our power, as far as I know, up to date, other than for the October bill. And we continue to maintain that facility, which of course includes the effluent disposal, the garbage, and continual maintenance. So I did bring some pictures that I thought were pretty interesting, and I'm just going to pass them around if I can start with Councillor Cromweller, because this is the beginning and this is what it looks like today. And I did outline in my request, thank you. I did outline in my request of consideration just exactly how much money is put into the facility, and a fairly detailed submission, I felt, and that was done between all of us on the committee. So Brian Starkey and Gord McKenzie and a number of other people who are volunteers that assist work at that facility. And of course, there's been volunteer money, time, effort, equipment put into the facility as well. So it's not been just a payroll kind of operation, far from a payroll operation. It's been conducted basically from assistance from everyone in our community that have been interested in the track.
Okay, thanks.
That's it.
That was it? Okay, great. Thanks, Ms. Youngberg. We visited this originally this morning, and it really came into a lot of questions, just kind of gnarly, naughty legal things that we don't have the answers for, and we certainly don't want to put you on the spot. But I think there are some questions forthcoming from councillors. If you have some answers, we'd appreciate it, because we really thought that we were getting into a tough legal situation between CIREC and some issues like that. So if council wants to try a couple, and we'll just see whether we can get through these or not. I don't know that we can. We may have to break off and sort of have a bit of a legal huddle here to find out what's going on. But Councillor Rhodes?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much for stepping up to the plate and providing this option. This is a good thing that you're doing. I'm enthusiastic about it. I think probably as enthusiastic as anybody, because, you know, I'd like to see something happen up there. I want to ask a couple of questions about your relationship with CIREC. And just to repeat what Mayor Wells says, if there isn't an answer, just say so. You know, I'm okay with that. But so you commented that CIREC has been dissolved.
Correct.
Yeah. Why would the new group, Desert Park, come to the town and ask for forgiveness of that debt? Would that debt not be retained by the CIREC group?
I'm sure that we can answer that. CIREC is the same group of people as Desert Park Exhibition Society. The reason that we have asked for forgiveness under CIREC is because the corporation that was formed has the net value of what it accumulated. The net value of what it accumulated, meaning the equipment and the building, has to be sold to pay off the actual shareholders that created CIREC, because they were what we call Class K shareholders. So the Class K shareholders actually put the money up for the development of the building, which started the net worth of CIREC. So in order to dissolve it and we move on, taking the responsibilities and the net worth, which means the equipment has to be passed over to the Exhibition Society. So therefore, we are going to continue creating that value within the society. And in order to do that, we had to dissolve CIREC and then ask that all of the investors in CIREC move their money to the society. And we have to do that legally by way of a consent form. The consent form has been signed by 86% of the shareholders. So the remaining 14%, that money has to stay in a reserve account with a lawyer until we have that 14% agreed to convert their money. If they don't agree to convert their money, then that money has to be returned to them. But it's at the value of the corporation at that year end, which was the statements that you did receive. Okay? So when you ask why would we request, we're requesting as directors of CIREC at this point, because now we're also directors of Desert Park Exhibition Society. So the dissolving of the corporation happens when all of the shares have been dealt with. So I guess to say that CIREC has dissolved was a little bit premature. That comment may have been premature because it won't be completely dissolved until such time as all of those shares have been dealt with. So I don't know, Councillor Rhodes, whether that answered your question, but the value of Desert Park Exhibition Society is the funds that have been moved from CIREC to the society so that we have some seed money to begin with.
In addition to that, the shareholders of CIREC, have any of those shareholders been paid back any amounts at all for any reason over the last little while
Yes.
that would reduce the value of the company or the entity? I guess I can call it a company because it was for
The corporation.
yeah.
I'm not so sure that by paying one shareholder back the required amount, because he was also what we called an investing Class A share. So when he requested his money back, he requested it back based on the fact that he wasn't in agreement to dissolve CIREC, nor was he in agreement to proceed with the society. So in order to eliminate a lot of concerns and direction from our part, we had a directors meeting and requested and floored the resolution that this particular shareholder would be paid back. And to satisfy, we don't like unhappy people in the community. That isn't where we want to go with this. So he was very unhappy and indicated that it would be better if he didn't continue to be supportive of what he saw was transferring to be a society. So we agreed to give him his Class A share back. But he was the voting Class A share. There were 7 of them in the directorship, and he was one of them.
You're doing very, very well so far. That's great.
We do have Pearson Company as our law firm, okay, and they have guided us through this particular process. And I do have, by the way, was very remiss in not introducing Gord McKenzie and Mark Pendergraph, who are supporting Mark as our mediator and Gord McKenzie as our president.
Great. Thank you. Further questions? Councillor Ryan.
Yes, Ms. Youngberg. Again, we're very supportive of what you're doing and what you tend to do. But as the mayor said earlier, we had a presentation this morning, and some issues were raised, some discussions after. There was what had been a sales unit that was actually acquired by CIREC and moved to the site, and I think it's still there. Is that an asset currently of your Desert Park Exhibition Society?
No, it's not. It is an asset of CIREC, the corporation. It's being sold to satisfy the Class K shareholders that actually put the funds up to buy the facility. They have agreed on the sales price and have agreed that they will take their initial investment back, but I would like to add that they are leaving their Class A shareholder share involved with the society. They have signed the consent to change it, to transfer it over to the society. So the reason the building is sold, number one, is because we don't believe that we really need that as part of the facility with our plan, and therefore it is just an expense and an asset of a corporation that we would like to dissolve, so therefore we'll sell the asset and pay back the shareholders.
Right. So the full value of the sale price will be returned to the shareholders.
Almost. I think there's $1,000, but we're reserving that because it's going to cost us money to dissolve the corporation. Because I believe there's a letter on file, which I think you got a copy of, that was a requirement of that particular organization to create what I think the letter says is a registered company. So at that point in time, that group proceeded to incorporate because that was what they understood the direction to be. And of course, as we all know, without going backwards, it just created nothing but a huge amount of difficulty for each body to come to an agreement. So we have got legal advice to say the society is the direction to go. It is funding is available for society. We have got corporations that are much more in favor of contributing to societies than to a corporation. And it's a non-profit society. It has to be operated with individuals on board. And of course, it's a lot easier under the society than it was going to be under the corporation.
Right. And as a nonprofit society, am I correct that the directors serve without any remuneration?
That's correct.
I have one more question, and that is the has any thought been given, or has your any discussion been held with your lawyers about a payment of some portion along the lines of a bankruptcy sort of settlement for the amount owing from the new corporation or the new society? 10 cents on the dollar, 20 cents on the dollar, that sort of thing?
No, they suggested that we approach the town to see if we couldn't resolve the debt prior to coming up with any kind of submission or arrangement. And just from their legal point of view and observing the financials from day one and a lot of the paperwork that's gone through, it appeared to them that the money that was raised completely went back into the facility, as well as hundreds of hours of volunteer work. So they felt that it does have to become, of course, a concern to council. However, they're saying, you know, the facility is there, it's up and running, it's an asset to the community, and it's certainly an asset that you can put some value on now, which when you see the pictures, there was no value basically to that facility.
Yeah, there's a lot of weeds and other things and debris in that in those early pictures.
Yes, that's right, and it continues to be cleaned every day, and of course all through the winter, it will be much easier to clean the majority of that up if we're successful in being able to proceed. But no, there was no bankruptcy suggested for the corporation because it does have value. Mm-hmm. And of course, together with the sale proceeds of the building and the $9,000 in the bank, I mean, technically the value of the shares in the corporation are of such that we were financially okay to pay people back if they wanted, because the value of the share is certainly not $1,000.
Good. Thank
you. Councillor Cromwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't know, Carol, if I can get this right, but I think I get there. My question with regards to this, the money that and the rent, pertains to the dissolution of the company. When you dissolve the company, and I'm asking what the advice of your lawyer may have been, to have it, the debts of the company are sitting there. So there's, I'm understanding you to say that the shares would be a debt, the rent would be a debt, and whatever else you may have, bills you may have had. What got priority? How do you determine what gets priority in this situation? Because I'm kind of thinking that, you know, if should the town have been the one to get priority over a shareholder, or was it well you did it? I'm not clear on that. To me, it would be. I think we stand in the same place as everybody else there. So why shouldn't it have been spread amongst everybody?
Well, there's been no distribution of funds at this point, other than for the one person that requested their initial investment back. And we wanted to proceed with as little animosity as possible within the community. And we did not see that there was any advantage in continuing with the mudslinging that had been going on. And the one individual that requested the money back had some very strong feelings and thoughts, and it was just better for us to pay him out. I don't think we put any priority at that time on any position. So for an example, you didn't rate third or fourth or fifth on the list. You rate first because it's your facility. However, because it's your facility and the amount of energy and money and efforts that we put into it to improve it from what it was when we took it over, we felt that you were the first person to approach to say, is there any relief that could be considered?
Thank you. Ms. Youngberg, I think that brings up one question that I have to ask, and I think it's fair. I won't ask who, but I think we should have how much that amount was that was paid back to the one individual. When we're dealing with this, I think it's fair to ask that number. I don't.
Yes, it was $2,000 because he held 2 shares.
Okay.
He was the initiator.
So that's
of the
the only money
corporation.
that's really gone out of
Yes.
CIREC then.
Mhm.
Thank
Mhm.
you. And I think that's, I think the people that are sitting here and would
Mhm.
like to know that. So
Yes,
yeah.
he held 2 shares, and they were the initial 2 shares of the corporation because.
Okay, so they were the A shares.
Mhm.
Okay, and
Right.
the K shares didn't have anything to do with it.
Not at this point in time, they don't know. I mean, when the building's sold and we collect the money for it, then we then have passed a resolution under CIREC that those people get the money back for the investment in the building. Because technically.
On the K shares.
On the K shares. Technically, they could probably, although they wouldn't, but they could come on site and take the building because they're the ones who paid for it. And it happens to be a portable building with no registration details. So all that we've done is enlisted it as part of the asset value of CIREC on the books. I think it's on your statement that you have.
Yeah.
Along with the tractor and the truck.
Okay. Thank you. Council. Councilor Ryan.
One last question, yes. When you mentioned the tractor, there's some reference to a loan for the purchase of the tractor, and that loan is still outstanding?
It is.
Yes.
We have 2 payments left to
Okay.
make. And all that paperwork has to be done by way of the lawyer because that loan has to be transferred into Desert
over
Park
to-
Exhibition
yes.
Society.
So you'll assume the loan payments
Mhm.
on that?
That's
your
what we would
intention?
like to do.
Yes,
yeah.
okay. Thank
That
you.
hasn't been finalized, just the same as the insurance. Because as long as CIREC remains intact, which of course it does because it's still got value and it's still got money in the bank under CIREC. So as long as that exists, then we continue to operate under the corporation that is going to be dissolved.
So you're working toward having a clean balance sheet that can be turned over to the new society.
Correct. That's what we're looking towards.
Okay. Councilor Chadsey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I commend you, Carol, for taking this on. It's I can only imagine.
Maybe I shouldn't.
And I guess we're just trying to find, get some clarity. So I thought you said earlier that 86% of the CIREC stakeholders have agreed to move over to the Exhibition Society.
Correct.
And that leaves 14% who want their dollars back.
No, they have not ever said that. They
Okay.
just haven't signed the consent form. So until the lawyer gets the signed consent form, that nominal share has to remain as part of CIREC. So until we can deal with the 14%, the corporation can't be dissolved entirely.
Oh, I see.
We've chose to do that. We legally do not have to do that, but we've chose to do that. Because everybody who was a shareholder, we don't want anybody unhappy. We have to satisfy them. So we have a little bit of a complication because one of the shareholders have passed away and the family has taken over the shares and we have to resolve that issue. So, there's lots of things that we have to work out. as far as resolving the dissolving of the corporation and proceeding with the society.
Was there an easier way to go about it in hindsight, or?
Probably. Do nothing. I think we, according to the information that we've been given, this was the easiest thing to do. Just create the society. Now we have to work with dissolving the corporation. Whatever results in the dissolving of the corporation will be the strength of the society. So, and of course, because everyone who put up $1,000, 86% of them, have agreed that it was a donation to begin with in the eyes of themselves. The 14%, there's 3 or 4 people that are away. There's a few people that we are just discussing with because they're in full support, but they're not sure that they want to just do the conversion of the money. So we'll work it out, but it's important that the accountant, White Kennedy, comes up with the actual value of the corporation at the time of the year end, so we have a value on the share. So if someone does say they want their funds back, we know exactly what the share value is.
And is the share value depreciated by this outstanding debt?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. That, as well as the fact that we've put a lot of money into the facility and we haven't generated enough to substantiate the balance.
Okay, that was wonderful. That was great. That was, I think, all of this morning's questions, as I can recall on the show. That was great information, Ms. Youngberg. So, thank you. I guess it's up to council what they would like to do with this. There is a resolution there that the CIREC rent obligation of $15,000 given. Now, if I was making that correct, is that a $17,000 figure, or are we going to work on the $15,000? Or
well, our books as of are up to date. We've been tallying, and we showed a $17,000.
Okay. So what are council's wishes? Do we need more information? Is this being deferred? But there's my mind, there's a real danger of deferral. With it could be, quite a few new council members, could be everyone's being challenged that's sitting here, so be a brand new 5-person council. Boy, it would take them forever to wade into this. This is quite a quagmire that we've been through here. So, Councillor Cronmiller, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move that we forgive the debt of $17,000 that's owed to CIREC in the rental cost.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Ryan. Speaking to the motion. Councillor Cronmiller.
Sure, I'll start. I've lived here 12 years and looked at Desert Park for 12 years and seen it come and go in many different ways. And I think that after listening to what Ms. Youngberg has had to say to us today, that I'm satisfied that CIREC has done what's appropriate to disband their company, and that I feel that here's an opportunity when I see and hear about the good things that have happened at Desert Park in the last couple of years, that I feel that we're headed in maybe the right direction. I hope we are. And that this is an opportunity to make it into something. 6 years on council, and we've been through requests for proposals and racinos and all kinds of things, and none of them have really come to fruition. So I think here's an opportunity to have something that'll come to fruition. We have good people, and we have good members of the community with it started, and I think that let's give it a shot and see what happens.
Councillor Ryan, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I think in every organization, you have you incur bad debts, and I see this as a bad debt. And I think that we also have a community asset here which has grown in value to the town over the last few years. Undeniably, that is the case. If we had if we had done the work by our staff of putting it in that condition, we probably would have spent more than that amount. And so I think that we're justified in seeing this as something that has been put into Desert Park to increase its value and to improve it.
Thank you. Councillor Rhodes?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we got these agendas last Thursday. This was the first item that I looked at when we got them. Everybody should have a look. Our agenda is over 300 pages long this time, and I focused right in on this one because I knew I was going to struggle with it, and I'm a little conflicted about what to do about it. But at the end of the meeting this morning, I had a bunch of questions. You did a really, really good job answering them for me. I don't like the fact that this happened, and I don't believe that you do or anybody else involved in it. Life would be a lot better if we didn't have to deal with this, but we do have to. But I'm going to support this motion, and I'm going to support it for one reason only, and that's because of the investment that was put into that place. I don't have to look at the pictures. Just driving by there, it's profoundly different than it has been for a long, long time. And, you know, for that reason only, I'm going to feel good about supporting this. I know the optics of it to a lot of people are that we're just giving it away and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, so often these things come around and become better because of what's left over. And I see a bunch of good people trying to do something with this facility, because in my mind, you could walk away from it as easily as anybody and just forget about it. So for that main reason and some of the other comments I made, I'm going to support this motion, and I'm going to feel good about it. I know it might become a little combative after it's over with some folks, but yeah, I'm on board. I'm going to support it.
Great.
Thank you.
Councillor Chadsey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I also am conflicted. I really wish that we could not make the decision until the other 14% had made up their mind, because if we forgive the debt, of course, their shares increase. So I do have a little bit of a problem with that. But overriding all of this is several issues. First of all, CIRAC was CIRAC. You sit here before us, and certainly there are much the same people, but you sit here before us as a Desert Park Exhibition Society, and that's the group that we're going to hope we can continue on with an agreement. CIRAC's demise started months and months and months ago, and at any time, I think that we as council could have, and maybe should have, but certainly could have said, we will no longer negotiate leave. And that would have stopped this $1,000 a month accumulating. What would have happened is it would have been the facility, the area, the land, would have been abandoned again and gone into disarray. And the next group that came along with a proposal would have had a horrific job trying to attract horses and horse people, because you can't just open and close, open and close, open and close. And so, well, CIRAC we knew was in disarray, and we knew was you know, ultimately probably doomed for what has happened to it. It was council's decision, I guess, to just see how far we could, you know, like to keep the lines of communication open, and recognizing that somebody there is better than nobody there. And so this $1,000 a month still continued to go on the books. For that reason, and because you are a new group, and because you could have done it a different way and not even bothered to ask for forgiveness, it could have just been a bad debt. For that reason, I am going to support the motion.
Great, thanks,
Thank you.
Councillor Chadsey. Also, I had a lot of questions this morning. I'm very comfortable right now, so ready for the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Done deal.
Thank you very much. I also, in my just parting remarks, want to bring up some questions I think that were made earlier about the flyer. And just want to assure you that we don't want to get in competition with people that are in the community. However, what we do want to do is we want to provide a facility for the benefit of the community so they can come up and board their horses, they can feed them, they can learn to look after them, and we've got 2 wonderful instructors up there at the moment. And our little group has grew from 5 to 21. And we have got lots of interest, and the instructor, who was a number of years, as you can see, from Olds College in Alberta, and his assistant, they are doing a wonderful job up there. And what we want to do is encourage the community to come and take advantage. They have been in contact with the schools. This is a teaching program. And if a ride evolves out of the teaching, that's all part of the training. So that's, we are hoping that. We just wanted to clarify that for you. And we'll have platinum level.
Can you leave that with us?
Sure.
Okay.
You can have platinum level shareholders, which we're creating. And so they'll get free coffee and parking and all sorts of good things up there. So consider your positions on that, okay?
Thank you, Ms. Youngberg. Just a final note, you know, we're always looking at also at our high school of having a hockey academy or an academy to enhance the enrollment. Maybe this will turn out to be an equestrian academy. There we go.
Absolutely. There's all sorts of things that we hope are going to spin off of this. So thank you very, very much for your support. And I know that President Mackenzie and our director, Brian Starkey, who has, we just want to give him a big, huge thank, because he has got a bunch of volunteers up there and helps himself all the time with developing the facility further. So thank you very much, all of you.
Yeah, thanks, Ms. Youngberg. Welcome. Thanks, Gord. Under business 3, Mr. Newman, are we going back to Destination Osoyoos? We're done?
That one's done, yeah.
Okay, great. Well, I just wasn't sure whether it was, that one's been sort of all over the map today. So going on to business 4, a report on the airport obstacle assessment.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. The subject of the report you have in front of you is a request by Tom McHale, a representative of the Osoyoos Airport Development Group. And so I'll just highlight the background here. And at the September 6th, 2011 Committee of the Whole meeting, Tom McHale from an owner of Gemstone Workforce Logistics, an aviation management company, and a resident of Osoyoos, made a presentation regarding a possible expansion of the Osoyoos Airport. Including in that presentation was a proposal for a long-term success of the airport, and as well discussed at the meeting was a requirement for an obstacle assessment if we were going to move forward with certain planes coming into the area for for tourism and I was going to say the shoulder seasons, but I don't want to say that for additional for all seasons. We need to look at expanding that runway. So in that we had some press in the media from that, and from that exposure we on September of last month or 2 months ago, we had a representative from SNC Lavalin meet with the CAO and the mayor to discuss the services that this company could supply to the town if the town was going to move forward with expanding that airport, and explained the services of an obstacle assessment and a pavement assessment as well. And from that discussion, a letter was received by the CAO, and it explained explained the noted services and pricing with that. A day later, we received a letter from Tom McHale asking permission from the town to complete an obstacle assessment on behalf of the airport, the Osoyoos Airport Development Group, and with regards to that letter was also if the town wanted to be supportive of that assessment and buy into that assessment. So basically what we have today is the issue is should an obstacle assessment be completed by on the airport runway, and if so, should the town support the funding of the obstacle assessment, and if so, how much? So the options in front of you are advise Mr. McHale that he has permission to complete the obstacle assessment, providing it is done by a reputable company, and that the town has no ability, no funding at this point in time to support the assessment, or advise Mr. McHale that he has permission to complete an obstacle assessment, provided, again, it is done by a reputable company, and that the town would be willing to support the assessment with a certain amount of dollars and be part of that ownership of the assessments. Or advise Mr. McHale that he doesn't have permission to complete an assessment on our runway.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Newman. Just because I've been a little bit involved in this, it's really important that we have that obstacle assessment. We don't know whether we're moving ahead or not moving ahead until that takes place. And there's also a pavement assessment index study that is in hand with that, and that really will tell us where we are, the condition of what we have, and whether it even makes sense for airport expansion. It may not make any sense at all. There could be a mountain and what they do is they go out 5 miles out and they're looking at sideways and lengthwise and anything that they can see that would be a detriment to having an airport there. And these would be under NAV Canada, Government of Canada guidelines and policies and procedures. So it's sort of important that we get that just so that we know, and it's the future, and everybody knows whether there's any possibility or any future for what we have there as far as expanding it. Then of course you'd have to look and see whether it's going to stay the same or what it is or what we could do to enhance it as a small runway. But it's important to have some sort of decision on this, and there has been some more input into it. And just on the letter from SNC Lavalin, there was an issue there, and I just don't have it right. Tom McHale. But one of the issues on the Lavalin letter, they were sort of saying it was worth $19,500, and they were going to offer it at $14,500. But they wanted the insurance that Future Airport Studies and Development Services are contracted directly to SNC Lavalin, which is a huge engineering firm. We can't operate like that. That's just not in the works for town council. I think it's against the community charter, as a matter of fact. So we do have that out there, but we also have this letter from Mr. McHale, and maybe we can make the motion to go to Mr. McHale, because he'll probably end up using SNC Lavalin. So the decision out there is whether council wants to move ahead with this, to what degree and to what amount of money. And Mr. Newman, I know on a sidebar you have some development money, but not enough to pay for half or anything like that. So council, please. Councilor Rhodes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to support this, but I need perhaps a little bit of help with it. It would be very, very important for me to know how much our contribution is going to be, and secondly, how we're going to pay for it, where the funding is going to come from. If I had those two figures right now, I could certainly make a decision on it, but regrettably we don't. However, do support moving forward with it. I wouldn't be prepared to make a motion based on commitment of any kind of funding at all, because it could turn out to be $10,000, it could be $100. I'd like to know exactly how much and where the funding is going to come from if we do support it at that point. So I know I'm kind of running around a wine barrel here right now, but I certainly would like to offer a motion at this point that would support it in principle, just minus the dollar value.
And I think that's appropriate. I think the letter, as you see from Tom McHale, basically the initial one is to do the assessment. That is key. So in saying that, if there is some support for funding, again, we don't know the final dollar figure. The letter from Mr. McHale is requesting for the obstacle assessment, not the pavement assessment. So if we're looking at the combination of those dollars, it could be double from what the original obstacle assessment dollar figure that was thrown out there back in the September meeting when Mr. McHale came to present to council. But as well, to add to it, there was a pavement assessment done years ago through Destination Osoyoos, and we're trying to locate those that report, and it's either in a box in the basement of Destination Osoyoos or in a box in the basement of the town here. There were some boxes presented to me when I came on staff, so we'll find that and work through that with the airport development group to say, okay, and they have some experts in that group, and from that we should be able to determine if that a pavement assessment is one that can stand up to the standards that Transport Canada will require before we go down this road. But I think that the thing that we need to know is we need to know the information. If we're going to move forward on anything, we have to have this information in hand. And I think it's appropriate that the town as well be supportive of this moving forward, the obstacle assessment. So at the end of the day, and if we can support it to what dollars, and again, that's your point, Councillor Rhodes, is we don't know the dollars right now. And I think if we can get through the motion supporting the assessment, and if we can support in dollars, that could be added to it. But
I think we could probably get a motion to support in principle, and part of the motion would be to direct staff through dialogue with Tom McHale's and Gemstone Logistics to get us. We need dollar figures. And then we can take it from there. And Tom has contact with the other people there. So I think if we can, it shows that we're going to support in principle, but the dollar figures we're going to have to get. Councillor Ryan, you?
Yes, did someone support that? Your
that would be the essence of the motion I was suggesting. I was just a little conflicted with the third time today I've used that word.
Okay.
With the dollar value, I wouldn't want that in there at this point. But certainly the other wording would be perfect.
So could we include both of those and say that we support in principle an obstacle and an assessment and a pavement index study, and ask direct staff to be in consultation with Mr. McHale about having something like this done, and get some idea of the cost of that.
Perfect.
And that, you were seconding that?
Yeah, I will second that motion, yes, if that's what, I think that's what Councillor Roach had in mind.
You're right.
Okay, so we've got a motion on the floor, supporting in principle, and let's dig around and find out what the cost is going to be. And there are hints of other partners out there, so we will also bring them in. I thought we might go in as equal multi-partners, but then I also heard that the town would be a half partner and the other people altogether would make up the other half. Not nearly as attractive, but we'll let staff shake that down. Mr. Newman.
So just to clarify in discussion with Tom McHale after this is that we have no problem with them doing an assessment at the end of the day.
No.
And we're looking into, once we find the dollar, what the final dollar figure would be, we would be willing to have them come to the table again and show us those dollars and see if there's any dollars from the town available for that partnership.
I think I would expect Mr. McHale to use this letter, get both those services for $14,000 and divide that number by 5. That would be ideal.
I understand.
Mr. Mayor?
Councillor Chadsey.
Is the motion okay the way it is? Because he's asking for formally requesting permission. And so maybe the motion should say that we give Mr. McHale permission to complete an obstacle assessment study. Like identify it more than, yeah, we just don't have a problem with it being done.
And that's where I was coming from with regards to in principle. They're business people and they want to move forward. And I think if we say that we agree, the first motion is to agree, and then the second motion is to look at supporting partnership or some funding when we know the dollar figure. And I think with his partners, whoever goes into it, they're going to need to know if they're going to put their hand up for some dollar to throw in some dollars. They would like to know what the dollar figure is as well. So I think anybody that is looking at putting some dollars into that would want to know what the final cost is.
And I think if I can get back to Councillor Chadsey, they do have a dollar figure in there. So that is acceptable, that we're accepting in principle. Tell us the amount. In addition, I would like to know if the town has any interest in participating in some or all of the $20,000 cost for the obstacle assessment. So they opened up the dollar figure. We are approving in principle, and tell us how much. And
We're also,
and who's there?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, we're also, we've linked the pavement index study to that.
Right, because we're getting a better deal yet.
Well, hopefully. I mean, I know they're two discrete studies, but I think that we need them both, and so we might as well tie them both in. At least that's what we have. That's the motion we have on the floor at the moment.
Yes.
I know. You see, that's my point. Could we have the motion read? Because he's saying, I would like to formally request permission, and I think the motion should say that we give permission to Mr. McHale to form an obstacle assessment study.
Then he shouldn't have written the second paragraph. He should have left that paragraph 1.
That's very true.
And then that would make sense. But when he wrote the second paragraph asking for a financial contribution, then I think we're fair to find out what that financial contribution is. And this, I mean, we will be meeting again, or council will be meeting again, sorry. There are meetings coming up in which this decision can proceed, and we'll know what the cost is to the town of Osoyoos. One of the people involved in this, when I run into him, he wants to write a check for the whole thing. So let's let staff work through this, and does that work?
Can I read it?
Yes,
Just
please.
To make sure I have it right.
Yes.
Moved by Councillor Rhodes and seconded by Councillor Ryan, and resolved that Mr. McHale, that council is in support of the completion of the obstacle assessment and pavement index study in principle, provided it is done by a reputable company, and that staff be in discussion with Mr. McHale to obtain costing figures.
That's right.
Councillor Chadsey, does that work?
It does. I guess I'm not making my point. I'm thinking that the motion should say that we give in principle or whatever to Mr. McHale to proceed with an obstacle. Like, we should identify who we're giving the permission to.
That's not what we're saying, though. The motion doesn't say go ahead and do it. The motion says, in principle, we agree to having these 2 studies done and ask staff to discuss with him the costs involved. So we're not answering his question.
No.
We're expanding it and asking for some price for 2 studies.
And if I can just follow through on that, if we go to that first line where he'd like to formally request permission from the town of Osoyoos to proceed with the obstacle assessment of the Osoyoos Airport, we could make the motion to go yes, and he pays. Then that's the end. Okay, as soon as he puts in the dollar value, if he wants to pay for it, go for it. But it would appear to be quite higher than what the market value is for 2 studies.
I think he needs to know to move forward. I really believe that the first paragraph says that can he do the study, and that was our discussion. He said, do I need permission from the town to do this study? And I said, yes, you need permission from the town. And then at the end, he said, well, or from this letter, he's asking, well, does the town want to be in support? Do they want to throw in some dollars to this as well? But I think at the end of the day, he would like to have some type of motion or resolution that yes, this group can do an obstacle assessment.
Okay, acting on what was just stated, then I would say we would have to say no. He's asking for $20,000 to do an obstacle study, where we have 2 studies being done for $19,500 at the high end and $14,500 at the low. Why would we go with the high bidder?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Because then you're too tied to all the rest of it on the top of the 19.5.
No, not at the 19.5 price. Well, yeah, at the 14.5 price.
Yeah, you'd be tied to them. I think the important part is that we want to advance this project and move on, and I think that's what's important. And I think if we say to them, yes, we want to advance this program, and that's what we're saying. I think the costing of this obstacle assessment will be something that he wants to come and talk to us about it, fine. And if he doesn't, he'll pay for it and get it done. Either way, we'll talk to him and negotiate, but I think we want to step forward. Let's move on. If we're ready, we're going. We'll leave it to Mr. Newman to... Yeah, well, we're getting too fancy, I think, and too convoluted in what we want to do. The pavement study, I'm convinced, is in a file. I know we did that. Years ago, I was on the airport committee, and Ms. Van Vienen's shaking her head, nodding her head with me, with some other airport people, and Mr. Doomery for one, and a few Lyle's last name. We had some people, and when we paved it and talked about what it needed for Dash 8s, I'm pretty confident it was Dash 8s. So I'm sure we'll find that somewhere in the files, and we'll be able to get that, which would solve that part of it. But anyway, I want to encourage us let's get on.
Well, we have a motion on the floor doing exactly that, and the airport runway index study does have to be done. Both SNC Lavalin said that's old. They don't know what the base is, and as a matter of fact, they underpaved it the first time. That runway has already been paved twice.
Well, I know, but
they underpaved it. Then they did another layover on it, and who knows what it is right now. Filed. If the airport is going ahead, the recommendation is to have the pavement index study done, and the obstacle must be done. So we have a motion on the floor, Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So being the crafter of that motion, didn't really mean it to get that complicated. I don't know how anybody could read any negative stuff into this at all. It's moved forward. Speaking in favor of my own motion, just need to know how much it's going to cost. That's all my motion was about. So with that in mind, I'd like to call a question on that.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
If they're all going to be that tough today, It looks like 8 o'clock, folks.
Resolution 5.
Right. Resolution at 5. Thank you, Councillor Rhodes. Next item under Business 5, LRCU Task Force, a report from Director of Planning, Mr. Cunningham.
I hope this one is easy for you. Attached is a report embodying more than 30 recommendations to Council from the Lake Recreational and Commercial Use Task Force that staff were pleased to previously present on October 17th to 11. We are also pleased that 4 assistant members of the task force were able to join us at that presentation: Roger Horton, Sue McCorduff, Jorgen Reinhardt, and Ralph Otto. The other citizen members are Janice St. Louis, Victor Casa, Rob Roche, and Vincent Burke. And I should also add that the task force was excellently chaired by Councillor Cromweller, and Councillor Rhodes also gave very valuable assistance as well. In preparing recommendations, the task force's guiding objectives were to promote environmental sustainability of Osoyoos Lake, foreshore, and adjoining upland lands. 2, protect safety of water users. 3, avoid overloading and congestion of our finite resource base. 4, ensure adequate access to the lake by all user groups, including residents, second homeowners, and visitors. 5, reclaim public lands and water for community benefit. 6, promote the aesthetic appeal of Osoyoos as a resort community. And 7, strengthen the town's regulatory and enforcement powers. The task force makes 2 sets of recommendations. First, there are general recommendations covering matters that could form the basis of water zoning, as well as other policy issues that could be included as work projects in our business plan. And second, there are specific recommendations for instituting a system of water zones. So our recommendations is that Council is asked to respond to staff's recommendations made at the end of their previously presented report, and that is, I quote, staff recommends that Council acts on the Lake Recreational Commercial Use Task Force, LRCU Task Force's recommendations by directing staff to proceed with preparing a system of water zoning for their consideration, and also advising Council how their other recommendations could be best addressed through our annual business planning. And staff also recommends that Council take the opportunity of thanking all citizen members of the task force for volunteering their time and for their valuable contributions. So just going back to the main recommendation, I'd like to explain that there's over 30 recommendations, as I mentioned, some of them quite far-reaching. Staff need to evolve some kind of prioritization system, which one should be dealt with first. We need to assess what our resources are that could be applied to those priorities, and it's very unlikely that we're going to get all of this done in the first year. It's probably a 2-year program, perhaps even a 3-year program. But the point is that we need to do that assessment and then take back to Council our recommendations for how those recommendations could be responded to in our annual business plan.
Great. So, Mr. Cunningham, when you went through this, was there unanimity in the process at the end? It seems like with 30 recommendations, I mean, I think this task force deserves a great bouquet for work that they've done. I've seen they met 7 times. That's incredible.
There was some small differences of opinion towards the end. I should add before that we took a very careful step-by-step process, making sure that everybody was on board as we went. But anyhow, it was inevitable that we got to the end, and there was a few little differences of opinion, and I circulated some suggestions as to how we could meet some of the concerns, and they were circulated amongst the task force, and they signed off on those before we took the final report to Council. So yes, it is quite incredible, but there was a huge amount of unanimity between the task force members, and this is quite an achievement considering the vast array of very difficult issues that were considered, and some of them bearing very directly on the interests of some of the task force members that were involved.
Yes, and the diversity of the group was large.
Yes.
Council, please. Councilor Cronmiller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know all too well. I would like to move that the recommendation that the staff proceed with the recommendations of the LCRU and as with regards to projects in our business plan and also instituting a system of water zones. Covers it.
Seconder, Councilor Rhodes. Speaking to it, Councilor Rhodes?
Me too.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So yeah, great process. I got to tell this again. This is, hope I'm not boring anybody. Many months ago, we sat down with a set of bylaws. People all around the exterior of the council chamber, lined up at the door, full seating in here, and a group of people outside. Never ever looked like we were ever going to get through this process. So this task force came out of resulting from that, and just sat down with all the issues, listed the priorities, and worked through it. And at the end of the day, in my opinion, just a great report with a lot of good recommendations in it. I know we thanked everybody. I'd like to thank Councillor Cronmiller for chairing it. He had to stand up and kick our butts a couple of times, so thank you for that. And of course to our staff as well, to Alain and Steve and Phil, who were there through the whole process as well. And finally, just so I can, kind of really emphasize how important this is, work in progress. We took some of the recommendations out of this, made a pitch for budget money, got the budget money, and we're able to section off a lot of our swim areas this summer, and made all of those areas a lot safer, that kind of thing. So not only was the recommendation there to do that, we were able to separate that out as a work in progress thing and actually put it into application in our lake. And I think that worked out really, really well. And we got a lot more to look forward to with the other recommendations that are in there as well.
Great, thank you. Councillor Chadsey? Oh.
Just excellent job. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Councillor Cronmiller?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I would just like to enforce the comments of, endorse, I'll get the right word. Endorse the comments of Councillor Rhodes. It was a privilege for me to serve on this committee, and I'm not sure that I can live up to the accolades I've been hearing for my job as a chairperson, but certainly I appreciate and really want to thank the staff of the town and the planning department for their participation, and their recommendations and information was just terrific, and I think they really need to be commended for that work, and it made the job of the task force that much easier. And certainly the people that were involved, yeah, it was a great job. And when we talk about our lake and issues on our lake, these people stepped up to the plate. They gave good information, provided ideas, and worked together to accomplish goals. And when as we say, when there's 30 recommendations that we came up with, it was a great job. So I would like to thank all those people, and hopefully down here I see it says that we take the opportunity to thank all of these people, and perhaps we should be forwarding, I would ask them, maybe, does it need a motion to forward a letter thanking all of the individuals that took part in the task force and for their time and for their contribution.
Excellent. Anything further? Do we need a recommendation or motion on that resolution?
The motion's been made. You might as well, and
Just add it.
it'll go into our tracking system and it won't get lost.
Okay. Thank you. I think that's a good idea, because I was wondering how we could recognize them. But again, thanks. It's also all about small towns. It's all about volunteerism. We've seen a great example of it today, both with this and with Ms. Liz Ganton. So yeah, it's been a great day to volunteers that have come forward. Any further discussion on this? All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Next item is a development permit number 1106. See, I remember when we, at this time of year, would be 11206.
What's that chair for, Steve? Oh.
I had an extra drawing, so I thought I might as well bring it over.
Excellent.
Good afternoon, everybody. I have a development permit number 1106, and it's for it's a commercial permit, and it's for works on parkland south of the marina. Through a little bit of the background on this. On October 26, 2010, the Director of Planning and Development Services approved a riparian development permit number 1004. The riparian DP applied to the dredging of the lagoon, the shoring of the lagoon walls, installing a wharf with 32 slips along the west side of the lagoon, upgrading the 2 existing boat launches, and installing 2 F-shaped docks outside of the lagoon on Osoyoos Lake. Although it's noted in my report that the 2 F-shaped docks on Osoyoos Lake have not been approved by Council as part of the marina project. On November the 1st, 2010, development permit number 1005 was approved by Council, which applies to the commercial aspects of Phase 1 of the marina, which included the installation of the piles within the lagoon area, the 32 slips to be constructed within the lagoon, the boat launch dock, and the 2 boat launches. The terms and conditions of that second permit, 1005, require a subsequent commercial development permit to be approved by Council for works on parkland surrounding the marina, which include the extension of the pedestrian walkway, parking and staging area, the washrooms and office, and the associated landscaping. Going into my overview of this permit, the attached commercial development permit number 1106 has been prepared for Council's consideration, which applies to the works on parkland south of the marina, as I've said. I'm not going to go through the whole permit. I'm going to assume that everybody's looked at the terms and conditions of the permit itself, which is attached, and if you have any questions afterwards, I'll be happy to answer any questions. The permit includes a site plan that was prepared by True Consulting, which is attached as Schedule A, which is basically about half of that drawing that's in front of you on the floor. Everything to the south of the lagoon. The Sailing Club building is a former Osoyoos train station, and in an effort to pay homage to this historical building and the former railway in the town, the next section of pedestrian walkway has been designed for Council's consideration to emulate train tracks. This segment of the walkway runs from the northern tip of White Sands to the boat launches, and it's shown on a darker gray on the site plan that's attached to the permit. Attached as Schedule B to the permit. The overall design of future sections of the pedestrian walkway will be provided to Council for their consideration at a future date. And as per the requirements of the town's land use procedures bylaw, development application signage was placed next to the lagoon, notifying the public of the pending development application. Under community implications, I've stated that completing the parkland works south of the marina will enhance the waterfront area and complete portions of the waterfront master plan. And I've been advised that the current budget for these works is $500,000. Now, I hope I'm not going to mess up Jeanette's day, but when I was reviewing this report earlier, I noticed I've got a typo on the last page, and in the recommendation for this report, got a little bit dyslexic with my numbers. Under options, it mentions development permit number 1006. It should be 1106. And also in the recommendation, it should be changed to read development permit number 1106. Anyway, under the options section, you have 2 options. First, that Council approve development permit number 1106, subject to the terms and conditions described in the permit for the works to be completed on parkland south of the marina. Or number 2, that Council does not approve development permit number 1106. and staff recommend that council approve the permit, subject to the terms and conditions described in the permit for the works to be completed on the parkland south of the marina. And I'll do my best to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Council's wishes. Councilor Chadsey, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make the motion that council approve development permit 1106, subject to the terms and conditions described in the permit for the works to be completed on the parklands south of the marina, and I will speak to that.
Thank you. Councilor Rhodes is seconder. Councilor Chadsey, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What a delightful idea to have part of the walkway emulate railway tracks. That is so neat. And that came from staff?
That's right. It
That's
came
right.
from Philip Armstrong.
From Phil?
Yes, and he did the research on it.
Well, good for Phil and good for you guys to not booting him out of your offices. Sometimes we don't listen to these youngsters, you know.
Yeah.
I just want to reiterate what the terms and conditions are. They are the extension of the walkway. This is for the benefit of the people watching. The parking and the staging area, the washrooms and the office, and then all of the related landscaping. So we just continue to develop our waterfront and that marina area. And it's been in the works for a long time, and it's just all just starting to come to fruition. So I certainly am going to support the motion.
Rhodes?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick comment. Very, very creative work, just to echo what Councillor Chadsey said. And thank you so much for continuing on with the paving stones.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Oh, sure. Sure, maybe. Mr. Shannon, can you?
Against tips.
Sure.
Yeah, we take the chip. That's good, thanks.
Thank you. On the next item, which is the Fuji and Spartan Drive construction tender, I'm going to recuse myself on this. I live in the neighborhood, right in front of my house. I'm certainly not in conflict. It is the common good. It is within the boundaries of the town of Vesuvius. It is election time. I am recusing myself.
Okay, yes.
Councilor Ryan.
I am, yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, we have Fuji and Spartan Drive reconstruction tender, and we will ask our Director of Financial Services, Mr. Zakel, to speak to that.
Thank you, Councilor Ryan. So before Council is the Fuji and Spartan Drive reconstruction tender. This tender closed on the 20th of October, and it included the following projects: Spartan Drive reconstruction from White Sands to the marina, Fuji Court reconstruction, Phase 3 waterfront trail from White Sands to the marina sailing club parking and trailer staging area, and the sewer extension to the marina for the washroom. A total of 7 bids were received, with the lowest bid being Bennett Contracting Limited at an amount of $775,656.28. This includes a $30,000 contingency allowance and HST. True Consulting Group has reviewed all the tender packages and has confirmed that Bennett Contracting was the lowest bidder. Now to get into the summary of this project, because there's a number of projects in this tender. The Spartan Drive and Fuji Court road reconstruction portions of that, based on the Bennett tender, comes in at a total of $463,741.98. That's leaving a budget shortfall for that part of the those two projects of $27,741.98. For the parkway area, walkway, and sewage force main, the amount based on the Bennett tender is $393,552.57, which brings a budget shortfall for those three projects of $93,352.57, bringing that total to $121,094 over budget. In review of True Consulting's report, he had explained that the parking and trailer staging area comprises that main amount that's over budget at this present time, and it's due to fully utilizing the space down there, increasing the parking and trailer staging area from 2,000 square meters to 3,000 square meters, as well as putting a retaining wall in there to fully utilize the space. With this project potentially being over budget, if council wishes to proceed with this, staff's reviewed projects that have completed in 2011 that have come in under budget, so that these funds are available for council if they wish to proceed with this. They included road overlays, which we had $37,269 remaining, public works equipment replacement of $3,103, Sonora Center paving and painting was under budget by $41,834, Lions Park and Kinsman Park upgrades under budget by $8,104, the fence installation of Y-Lands $22,630, flagpoles at the town hall of $5,411. In addition, one capital project that we weren't able to proceed with because we don't have land available to do the construction was a sidewalk in front of Tamarack, fronting Rattlesnake Canyon of $22,000. So we do have funding available if council wishes to consider of $140,351 if council wishes to proceed. Now, with a couple of the options that council has, they can award Bennett Contracting Limited the Fuji and Spartan Drive reconstruction contract in the amount of $775,656.28, which includes a contingency allowance and HST. The other option is to reduce the project scope by reducing the marina parking area by 1/3 and award Bennett Contracting Limited the Fuji and Spartan Drive reconstruction contract in the amount of $656,656.28, including contingency allowance and HST. And the third option is to reject all tenders and retender in the spring of 2012. Because it's a betterment to the waterfront master plan, and there is funding available in 2011 funds, staff is recommending to council that we proceed with option 1 to get this work done in our waterfront area.
Okay, thank you very much. Council, any questions on this to begin with? Yes, Councillor Rhodes.
Sorry, I was going to make a motion.
Oh, okay. Well, you can make the motion. I have some questions, but perhaps well, let me ask the questions first, and maybe they're relevant. Mr. Zackel, in our engineer's report, he talks about the reconstruction of Fuji and Spartan and the not included items. And the not included items, he says, are 3: the relocation of the Fortis hydro pole, street lighting standards and associated wiring, and the landscaping. And he says that the first 2, the relocation of the pole and the street lighting standards and wiring, would be about $30,000.
That's correct.
So that's not in the tender, but are we proposing to add that in?
Well, that's part of the total cost. That's a part of the total amount that would put it over budget.
Okay.
Because the costs aren't all Bennett Contracting. Right. There's the engineering design, there's a pole relocation, and things of that nature as well. So those are components that will be done in the future, but are part of the total cost.
The total cost of the project, but they aren't. They're not going to be done by Bennett if we award them. They're not going to move the pole or anything like that.
That's correct.
Fortis has to do that. Okay, yeah. And there was one other question, and I can't find it immediately, but he said something about it doesn't. Oh yes. When he talks about the second phase of this, or the second part, he says it doesn't include removing their septic tank and replacement of the septic sewage pump. and again, the 4 streetlights. So is that going to be done, or?
Yes, it will be. Again, that's just not part of that Bennett contracting
Part of
portion.
the additional cost to do that. Okay,
That's
all
right.
right, thank you. So the overage is to do some of these other things that weren't included but are necessary.
Well, the overage is mainly due to the size of the parking trailer
getting-
staging area being larger,
Being big, yes.
and the requirement for the retaining wall to fully utilize the space.
Right, good. Okay, so thank you. Okay, did you have a question, Councillor Gadsby?
Thank you. With the increase to the parking, or the parking lot, can anyone tell me if we have increased the actual parking?
From what I see from the design is the parking now allows for both the vehicle and trailer to be parked in the parking area that's shown there.
Okay.
Okay, so what Steve's saying is there's about 25% more parking space available
Perfect.
for the public to use.
Okay. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you. I'd like to move option 1 to award Bennett Contracting Limited Fuji and Spartan Drive reconstruction contract in the amount of $775,656.28, including the contingency allowance and HST.
Okay.
And I'd like to speak to that.
Right, and a seconder, Councillor Gadsby. Okay, please, go ahead.
So just for clarity sake, this overage of $121,800, we're going to take this money out of savings that we have made from other projects we've had around town. And if my memory serves me right, that's not the total amount of all of the savings. There's been many, many projects. This council has done due diligence with a lot of projects that have come in successfully completed, well under budget. I'm going to support this motion the way it is because I think this is only a small portion of those savings. And this is a great thing for this town. That's an area that's going to be utilized an awful lot over the next 25 or 30 years or even longer. And the sooner that we can get going with it and make it better and more accessible for everybody, the better off that we will be in this town. And just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that the 121 that we're using, if this is successful, is not all of the money that we've come in under budget. There's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars on various projects that we've saved over the last few years.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. I too am thrilled to see this. Being a part of the Waterfront Master Plan Committee, I've certainly waited for that whole area to be improved, and certainly the parking lot and availability for boat trailer parking and our tourism people in our community. The people in our community who use the boat launch will have better places to park, cleaner. The area around the sailing club will certainly be improved with paved areas and walkways. I too am thrilled with the train track idea. I think it's just ingenious to do that and follow up on it. We can go even further as we continue with the path. So I speak in favor. I'm really pleased to see that sometimes things do come in over budget, but due to the great work of our staff and our engineer, we've had other projects that have come in under budget, and it allows us to complete something that's going to cost a little more, but then on the other hand provides us more space as well. So I speak in favor.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to speak in favor of the motion. I know that the extra cost is the retaining wall to provide us with additional parking lot and, as we've just found out, increased parking. And I think that is key. There's already such limited parking in that area and along our entire waterfront. So if we can scoop out some more parking, it will just benefit us in the long run. I think that the people who live on Fuji Court will just be tickled pink to finally have a decent roadway, safe roadway. And I see no point. One of the options was to reject all tenders and to retender in 2012, and that just does not make any sense to me. That's how we just stall progress, and that's how we stall projects that are on the books and the money is set aside. So I'm so excited that we can proceed. So I will support this.
Good, thank you. I'd just like to point out, I too support it, and I would just like to point out that that the budgeting for this apparently, according to our engineer, was something that came down on at least the parking lot area, and we have increased that. We wanted to make it as big as possible. And for me, when I saw the shortfall, I was a little dismayed at first because we've found that many times our tenders come in under our budget. But I was relieved that we are using savings from projects we've already completed, and we aren't foregoing anything. It's not that we are putting off something or taking money from something that was planned. These are all savings that we've achieved, and so in that sense, we're continuing to move this project forward. So, we're ready for the question? All those in favor then of accepting this tender? Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you very much. And call in the mayor again. Next. Okay, welcome back, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Cunningham just informed me that they approved everything but Fuji Court. Okay, into Business 8, Community Recreation Program Grant. Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. The provincial government recently announced that a new grant program will provide funding opportunities for recreation infrastructure and to the tune of about $30 million province-wide. This grant will cover about 80% of an approved project. There is no maximum dollar value, but it may be similar to other grant programs, such as Towns for Tomorrow, which is set at $400,000. A council resolution is required as part of the grant criteria. And looking at a number of different projects that we can apply to this grant, we looked at a splash park, a replaced pier at Gyro Beach, a Spirit Square, an outdoor ice rink, upgrades to the BMX park, an environmental park or development at the Y, basically a park development at the Y, paved canal trail for bikers and walkers, and Dividend Ridge walkway extension. These project ideas have more merit than others, but we felt that the Dividend Ridge walkway extension project would be the most appropriate. Also, getting estimates for paving the canal trail from 62nd Avenue to Highway 3 could be part of this project. That is right now the trail that we did just a couple of years ago. The project would easily fit into the grant criteria, as we have already had the majority of the project costs estimated for the Dividend Ridge walkway extension. The deadline for submissions is September 28th. If council approves this project, then we would have to get the estimated cost for the canal trail paving. This project is one of the best options to proceed for these reasons. The majority of the project is shelf ready. The Waterfront Master Plan Committee looked at a number of different options in favor of this particular project. If this project is approved, these trails could be easily maintained year-round. A comprehensive grant application can be prepared, and that we have significant time to do the grant application with the estimated project costs in hand. And some of the other projects that were identified have some issues in terms of no estimated project costs, and getting the time to do that may not be favorable to get the grant application in on time. In terms of implications within the community, if we improve our trail use for walkers, hikers, and bikers, it would have a positive impact on their health and wellness throughout the year. Organizational implications. Paving these pathways will make it easier to maintain the trails year-round. And in terms of budget, some of the projects listed above are not shelf-ready and may cost more than the proposed trail development project. An estimated budget could be around $500,000. If successful, we could receive up to $400,000 of that, as it is 80% contributed. And this would definitely be part of our 2012 budget discussions. So the options presented are for council to approve the project of the Dividend Ridge Walkway Trail Extension, along with the paving of the Canal Trail from 62nd Avenue to Highway 3, and for staff to proceed with applying for funding through the Community Recreation Program grant. Option number 2 is for council to approve another project listed above and proceed with applying for grant funding through the Community Recreation Program grant. And option number 3 would be for council not to approve any project at this time. And staff is recommending option number 1.
Okay, council, please. Councilor Rhodes.
I'll move option number 1.
Seconder would be Councilor Cronmiller, please. Councilor Cronmiller?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sure.
First speaker.
First speaker. Well, certainly after earlier conversations today and discussions about Desert Park and talking about moving it forward and keeping the improvements there, the opportunities we've had to finish this sidewalk and trail to Dividend Ridge or the golf course or whatever we want to call the subdivision up by the golf course is excellent. And if we can get it done, I know a whole lot of people would be a lot happier. But with the things that we've had going with tendering that program, this has provided us with an opportunity to maybe find some more funding for it, which is great. Provincial money is way better than having to use town operating funds. So let's go for it and see if we can do. And I think certainly the pathway is well used, and the opportunity to pave it, as long as certain individuals leave their motorized vehicles off it, we'll be real happy. And it's an opportunity for bicycle people with bicycles to be able to use it, and certainly for the walking people, it's a good thing as well.
Councilor Cadsey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a real toss-up for me between the one recommended on the pier down at Gyro Beach. I have one question on this. Does this include the barriers along down to Highway 97?
You mean the barriers going from on the Canal Trail?
No. As Golf Course Drive makes the turn at the start of the trail, the previous projects included a barrier being placed along the roadway there to Highway 97.
Whatever was in place before when we applied for funding with the Dividend Ridge extension at that time will be also included exact same with some very minor changes.
Okay.
And if it's not included, then for sure we would make sure that is part of it for sure.
Okay. The other thing that I just want to make a comment on, I will support this absolutely, because we really do need a safe pedestrian walkway from Dividend Fairway Hills all the way down to Highway 97, and to pave a portion of our trails as part of it is just a real good bonus. I do have one concern though, and that is that twice we've tendered this, and twice we've received tenders that have just been way out of the ballpark. And I'm worried now that we're going to apply for funding, and we're going to get the funding, and we're going to put the tenders out again, and we may end up paying such an inflated amount because. I really hope that when it comes, if we're successful, which I really do hope we are, that the companies that do tender at a fair value and not abuse the system. And I'm it for the day.
Thank you. Any other council input? Hearing none, all in favor, opposed, carried.
Thank you.
Next item up is BC Transit additional runs. There is another one day on Fridays being offered on BC Transit Kelowna. Director of Corporate, Van Bienen, please.
Thank you. In 2010, South Okanagan Transit System, along with BC Transit, requested Council consider approving an additional run to Kelowna on Fridays for the month of December, at which Council did approve. They are once again asking for this approval in 2011. There will be no additional cost to the town, as South Okanagan Transit System will be picking up the additional fees relative to this additional run. The approval in 2010 was on condition that the additional run was not promoted as a shopping trip. What they are proposing is that on the Fridays, the route would begin out of Oseas at 8 a.m., actually leaving Oseas at 8:30, stopping at the Oliver Hospital, OK Falls, Cherry Lane, and that is because that's a connection to other transit services. Orchard Park, again, another connection to other transit services, and to the Kelowna Airport upon request. And then leaving Orchard Park or Kelowna at 4:30, Penticton at 5:30, Oliver Hospital at 6, and arriving in Oseas at 6:30. Implications on the community: it would provide those unable to drive with additional options to attend appointments and other business. There is no impact to organization or budget, so we're just asking for Council to approve those additional runs, but adding that it not be marketed as a shopping trip.
Okay. Councillor Cronmiller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move option 1.
Okay, and Councillor Ryan, any discussion on that? I guess just when you think there isn't going to be any, I have a little bit, because through regional district, transportation's always coming up, transit is coming up. There's going to be a South Okanagan Smokeamine study that's going to get kicked off. Actually, we're considered to have good coverage now. Certainly not, it's not going to be good enough to Okanagan College University or anything, but you can get to Penticton. They're looking at hooking up with some of the minibuses that are coming through Princeton, and getting them so that they come in at the right time, so that one of the buses will continue on and take additional riders from Julius and Oliver run, or conversely, that would happen on our run. And I mean, right now we take people up there and the bus sits, so you might as well be running it to Penticton, where people have oncology appointments, things like that. And once we get this going, then people can make appointments. Trying to get another hour in Kelowna. I think it's only about a 2-hour window right now, and they're really trying to get it going so you could have a 3-hour window in Kelowna. So it's all positive forwards. Anything else? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. The Rocky Mountain Ridge Mussel, I'm going to refer that as RMRM, and the SARA is a Species at Risk Act, which is federal legislation. And I'm going to look for, hopefully the resolution at the end would be for Council to send a letter similar to the letter from West Kelowna, asking that the Fisheries and Oceans don't designate the RMRM as an endangered species. It's really important that our milfoil operation continues. The effective arm of our milfoil operation is what's happening now. It's the red boat, and it's out. I saw it out at Willow Beach the other day. That is the one that rototills, and it can rototill down to about 16 feet. And what they're afraid of is that this Rocky Mountain ridge mussel is being affected by our rototilling. And if we get into a situation where we can't rototill anymore, I don't think we have anything else at this point that is effective in eradicating milfoil. So when I say that the hair on the people back of their neck should be standing up, because it is that serious that Osoyoos Lake would be in peril if that happened. If we can't control milfoil, we're definitely going to have a real awakening. We can do the cosmetic one in the summertime, but that's really not doing anything on the eradication, and that's that blue turquoise one you see, and it cuts down to probably 2 meters below the surface, but it's just a haircut is all that is. So we just feel, and this is the Okanagan Basin Water Board, and we are environmentalists. We believe in all this. We believe in water, but we just don't think that they have enough information to act on. One of the exchanges, well, was that we don't think that you have enough information to act on, and it sort of came back. Well, we don't have the money, so why don't we declare them endangered, and then we'll do the study. And in this case, I don't know that that's the right way to go. The District of West Kelowna has written a letter, and we're just looking for some support. And there's also Department of Fisheries has put out a questionnaire that's a part of the package, and there's even a request there that the common layperson fill out the questionnaire and send it in to them. Do this online about whether that should be an endangered species or not. So it's kind of strange that they're going that route to do it. So hopefully we'll just send a letter and that will take place. Now at the same time, we have the zebra mussel and the quagga mussel they will look after the Rocky Mountain. Now the zebra is the one that chokes out all your eastern lakes. Lake Erie, anything with an intake in it, you get this zebra mussel, and they just clog all the pipes. They're costing hundreds of millions of dollars of damage in the Great Lakes area of clogging up pipes and anything that's in the water. So they are actually they've been in California, they've been found in Idaho. They like these warm water lakes. They like a good calcium deposit such as Kalamalka Lake, and they are moving in here also. So we've got mussels that are here, and then we have mussels coming in that are going to eat the RM, and but they're going to cause us a lot of problems. So we're looking for a couple of letters. Well, the one for sure on the Rocky Mountain, it would be crafted and drafted on the same vein as the letter of West Kelowna, City of West Kelowna. Councillor Chadsey.
I'll make that motion that the town send a letter crafted similar to the West Kelowna, supporting the stand of the Okanagan Basin Water Board not to make the Rocky Mountain ridged mussel an endangered species.
Okay. And I think it actually even says until we have more information.
Until we have more information.
Yeah. So I believe that's in that letter, and we would pick it up in the body of the letter, Councillor Chadsey. And thank you very much, Councillor Rhodes. Any discussion from council on that? Councillor Ryan.
Yeah, it just made me think as I was reading through this material the other day that whether there's something we could do or should be doing to try to prevent the mussels from coming in. I don't know whether they might come in if they were attached to a boat, for example, or a motor or something like that. But, you know, I think they mention in here something about either washing these boats or inspecting them and so on. And, you know, we've talked a lot about the infrastructure of our marina, but we haven't said anything about somehow we've talked, you know, sort of slightly about trying to instruct people about proper boating procedures. But I wonder if we do need to consider having, you know, some inspection or warnings or some area where people could, you know, check it out and make sure that if there's anything there, it could be removed and disposed of properly.
That's a very good idea, and actually, as part of this whole mussel thing, there is a request for a letter on the zebra and the quagga mussel that the federal government do everything in its powers to stop them from spreading. What you were talking about, Councillor Ryan, when I was in Sandpoint, Idaho this year, just traveling in from Washington State. A full inspection, paid inspectors looking at boat trailers, and I think they were still dealing with milfoil, but maybe they were dealing with mussels. But you know, pull right off the road and have your boat trailer and everything inspected and all your rigging and that before you got into Idaho. So I think, why don't I try to find out some more information?
I think that would be really good, because it just struck me that, you know, if we're trying to prevent their coming into our waters, we maybe there's something we can do, such as that.
And anyone that's interested in this self-survey or anything, this would be on our agenda, which is online. Could we get this into our e-news at all? People to access?
Yes, we could send it out.
Okay. I think I just like the people to have the ability to get that information. I know it sounds pretty bizarro, but I guess that's how small things happen. Maybe if we would have been a little more forward when the milfoil was coming, maybe we wouldn't have the situation having out there today. So I'll try to get some information. We'll get this into the town of Vesuvius e-news, and people will be able to pick it up. The few people that want to download it. I don't think this will be a bestseller, folks. Okay, thank you. Oh, did we vote on that?
No, not yet.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, item business 11. This was a report done by Summit Consulting Engineering Group. This was done for the Okanagan Basin Water Board, and this involves the lake level of Vesuvius Lake. This is very, very, very important to everybody that lives here. This is the renewal of the treaty with through the IJC with the American government and the Canadian government, and it involves what's going to happen with the new orders. And traditionally, the orders have always involved the lake level. And so that's 911, 913, everyone's heard those numbers. And that, so it always involved the lake level through the 4 seasons, which was drought and flood and summer and winter. And you see the lake go up and down, and they really do quite an orchestrated movement with that through the dams, the Okanagan dams, and of course the Zozul Dam in Orville. As we get into the new act and the new orders, the new operating orders, the old one was 25 years was the term, and this one here could very easily be 25 years. And for the first time, we're having the American side start to talk about flow levels over Zozul Dam. That changes. That's completely different than what we have now. We talk levels. Now they're starting to talk about flow levels, so that we don't know really what that means, but if we were in a drought, are we going to have to put water over Zozul Dam? And of course, that's a great fear. That would really change everything. If we were in a long drought, would we have to put water over the dam at the SS Sicamous to feed our system, to feed water over the Zozul Dam? So there's a lot of concern out there. So the Okanagan Basin Water Board put out a contract, and Summit did it. And it's just a great document. It's got some historical aspects to it. It's got the old operating orders for the lake, and of course it's got the recommendations for the new one. Now this is for 2011. The new orders will be signed in 2013. So I think next March, April, May into the spring, I think we'll be seeing a lot of activity from the IJC, from the Army Corps of Engineers. There's a lot of water issues around here that I don't think have been put to bed, including the Enlow Dam. I just think there's a lot of issues that are all sort of coming together, and we should really be aware of what's happening. So I would like Council to just make a motion to receive this report from Summit, and I'd like everyone to make themselves familiar with it and to read the report and be ready to, because there will be public meetings coming up on the IJC and the new operating orders and all of that. So if people have information and if people have knowledge, I think that puts us in good stead. Councillor Ryan.
Yes, just a question, Mr. Mayor. I'd be happy to make that, but I'm just noticing that, and I believe this Mr. Brian, is it Guy or Key?
Mm-hmm.
I think he spoke, didn't he not, at the
yes.
conference, and he's behind this study. But on page 3, he gives a summary and recommendations to the water board, and I'm just wondering if this is the time where we might, as a municipality, pick up some of these recommendations and forward them to the IJC, endorsing, some of the concerns that he identified here. Whether that's this is the time, or whether that will come in a short, in the future. But he does have recommendations in his summary of that letter, and I'm sure they've done it, but maybe our voice added to theirs would be
that would be
appropriate.
I think that's a great idea. The OBWB forwarded the summit report to the IJC, but if we did likewise or sent a letter saying that we support the Okanagan Basin Water Board,
right,
and the position portrayed by Summit Consulting, I think that would be good.
I would like to move that. Yes, that we in fact send our concerns to the IJC, endorsing the Water Board and the Summit report and their recommendations to us.
Okay, great. And that seconder would be Councillor Chadsey. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thanks a lot. That's great. I did yesterday. I had received an email from Mr. Teal. So I sent him a copy of the summit report. So I'm sure we'll be hearing from him soon as soon as he gets it all digested and gets it directed properly. Thanks again. Next up is time to pay some bills, some cash requirements in the general accounts of $240,552.52. Arena accounts in the amount of $4,090.22. Net payroll accounts in the amount of $133,685,000.29. Any discussion on those? Hearing none, that will be adopted by consensus. September income statements. Everyone had an opportunity to go over them. Any discussion on those? Councillor Ryan, please.
Yes, thank you. I see Mr. Zackel here, and I just wanted to ask one question that sort of leaped out at me, and that was in the general fund revenues on the first page of his report. And we're showing, I'm not sure, maybe you could tell us what licenses, permits, and rentals are, but I was seeing that we have an estimated or a budget of $3.271 million, and with $728,500 received to date, and you're suggesting we're going to be on budget. Are we going to make all that in?
Yes. What's included in that category is the recovery from other customers that relates to capital projects, which basically there's $2.5 million that hasn't been allocated into there as of yet.
Okay.
So that's why it looks so skewed at this point in time. Capital projects, we haven't spent that money in there, and likewise, the offsetting revenue hasn't gone into that account. So that's the disparity on that.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, anything further? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Statement. Building permit report in the amount for the month in the amount of $386,000. Total to date is $2,443,000, and that did include one new house up at the golf course. So it's great to have another new start. We're getting one a month now. We'll start rolling here real soon. So a motion to receive, please. Councillor Rhodes Chadsey. All in favor? That has been received. And moving to our CAO report. Mr. Romanko, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. Well, given that this is this particular council's last formal public meeting, I think the CAO's report is going to take a little bit of a different bent today. On behalf of myself and the management staff and all the staff from the administration and the guys working out there, would all like to thank this council for their work and efforts in the past 3 years. Certainly, their work in terms of developing a positive relationship with us all, and that doesn't mean that we always agreed. But I think the bottom line for us is that there was always a mutual respect, that there were roles that council had and roles that the administration had, and in the end, we were a working team that was working for the benefit of the community as a whole. The second thing I'd like to thank council is certainly for their commitment to the difficult job of local governance, and that is listening to diverse opinions and kind of coming up with the ultimate community solutions. And that often takes risk-taking, patience, and a fortitude that many people really can't appreciate, because often people focus on their individual needs and not on community needs. And thirdly, thank you for the hard work in the past 3 years. I know that we certainly I recall the first meeting that we had 3 years ago when I would just started, and I think that list, I think there must have been about 120 items on that list that was with our to-do list. And you know, looking over that list, I'm sure that we've made significant progress in the past 3 years on that list. Although the projects haven't been completed, much of the planning has been put in place. You know, some of the capital projects, the hard work is done, and now, well, except if we find turtles or something like that. But you know, it's not that we didn't want to make things happen. Sometimes, a lot of times, things were beyond our control that got in our way. But certainly, the legislative agenda was quite you know, extensive. The capital projects, the public consultation processes that have been involved here in the last 3 years have been very significant, certainly in terms of governance and administrative transparency, and the changes that council took on in their own processes and developed policy and administrative process to increase our efficiency and effectiveness. And for that, I thank you, and I wish you all luck.
Thank you, Mr. Romanko. Bringing us to councilor reports, and, well, my goodness, it's Councilor Cronmiller first. Oh.
Gee, I don't know. Well, as I would say, I guess to start with, Mr. Romanko kind of put it out there, and yes, being our last televised meeting together, and for the public and town of Osoyoos, I certainly like to thank them for the opportunity to serve them for the last 3 years, and I can't say enough about the staff we have with our town, and the work that they do is just really significant and tremendous. They answer the bell every time, and they bring a report, or they plow my street when the snow falls, or they fix the water when there's a water problem. It doesn't matter the job. They're out there doing it, and they do a great job. And I just can't say enough about the opportunity I've had to work with them over the last 3 years, and I thank them for all their efforts, and hopefully look forward to working with them again. Now, on the other hand, I'd also like to thank the 4 people that sit at the desks around this room that work with me, have worked with me as well, and thank them for all their work and effort in the last 3 years. It's been it's always a good time. I mean, we have issues, and we go home and probably scratch our head and wonder what we did, but it's been a great group to work with, and I thank you all for your effort and your time and your contribution to our community. Thank you. On a couple other notes that I had here, on Friday, I attended the funeral of a gentleman, Steve Kovacs. and I use Kovacs, and I heard Kovac. I'm not sure just which the right pronunciation is, but I've heard them both, and a longtime resident of our community and a gentleman that I had the good fortune to know and to speak with from time to time, and certainly respected his opinion. He always had something to tell me about things that were going on, or maybe something at the golf course and how things should happen. And certainly a great contributor to our community, and we're going to miss him. And it's really unfortunate that cancer took him at so early an age, but this is such is life, and it's not always pleasant. But my condolences to his wife and his family, and certainly, Steve, I know you're watching, and I missed him. I wanted to talk to him before the election because he always had good stuff. At any rate, a couple other things. The election day is coming. Advance polls on Wednesday here in the town council chambers and at the Sonora Center on the 19th, 8 till 8. And please come out and vote and make your choices and selections. Comment on election signs I wanted to make. Election signs have been disappearing fast and furious, and I know all of us go out and spend a good portion of money to put those out there and make sure that people see our names. And one, it's illegal to take them down and to tamper with them. Two, that money is a loss to the people that have put them out there, and it is a major expense. So please, leave them out there. We'll gladly take them down when the election's over. But we wanted to have our name out there so people can see. And so if you see somebody tampering with them, please report them to the police because it is an offense. And last but certainly not least, November the 11th is on Friday. Remembrance Day. A time to remember all of those people that have gone out and fought so that we can have the place and live where we are today. When we look around the world and the different countries throughout the world, it's we're very, very fortunate to live in this country and to have the freedoms and the ability to sit here and say whatever we want to say most times. And so please, the services are here at the Sonora Center on Friday, and I'm not sure even the time, but 10:30 rings a bell. And so, come out and remember those that provided that freedom for us today. And I want to thank them for that effort. My report.
Thanks, Councillor Cronmiller. I will entertain a motion to extend the meeting, please. Councillor Rhodes-Chadsey, all in favor? We
Opposed?
Just made it. Good for you. Well, we're cut off. Next report from Councillor Chadsey, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Council, for extending the meeting, just so I can talk for a few minutes. Of course, Remembrance Day, I want to remind everyone about November the 16th, which is the Cassie proclamation that we did earlier in the evening, well earlier. And they'll be serving coffee and munchies at Smitty's from, I think it's 11 till 1 on November the 16th. So please come by. The other thing I want to talk about is it's Christmas time again, and so we have the Fill the Shoe Box. Now, the forms are available, I know for sure, at the dollar store up in the Bilo shopping center up there. And you can get the boxes at Tim Hortons, or you can use your own shoe box. You can designate the box as a little boy or a girl, and then you just fill the box, and you put in $7 to cover all the cost of shipping, and then you can drop it off at Tim Hortons. They are a drop-off point. And I know that council in the past, we have done it every year. We just put together some money, and I've gone up to Jeanette at the dollar store, and she's helped us fill the boxes. So it really is a worthwhile effort, and they go all over the world to third world countries. So a really good feel-good story there. I noticed on the agenda today that we dealt with the CSAT group, which is the Community Sustainability Action, the LRCU, which is the Lake Recreation Commercial, and the CASI, which is the Community Action for Senior Independence. All three of these groups are just a drop in the bucket to the volunteer that goes on in this community. And the people today that represented some very unique and very necessary legislation and support that came out of these three groups today is just amazing. And so I want to just extend a personal thank you to these three groups and all the groups who have assisted council in the last 3 years, certainly, and to all the volunteers who just continually plug away. And you know, we just had one show up today and just did some work for us. Didn't really do any work, but just provided a service to us, and it was of such value, and just said, no, it's okay, you know. So I just can't thank everyone enough for their volunteer time. This is our last televised meeting, and I guess I'm going to take the opportunity to thank staff, to thank my fellow councillors. I just can't put into words how this last 3 years has been accomplished with respect, a lot of laughter, a lot of heated discussion. But still, when I walk through that door today, I walk through feeling the same way as I did 3 years ago. Not with any sense of foreboding or concern or, oh, here we go again, or just walk in and just felt just so good for the last 3 years. And I want to just thank everybody in the community for supporting us as a council. I think that you gave us really good feedback. If you didn't like something, you let us know. When you liked something, you let us know. And that has to be the way it is. And so from the bottom of my heart, I thank everyone. And that will be my report, I think, for today. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Chadsey, and great words about the volunteers. Yeah, we saw a lot of them through here today, and that was just a small portion of how blessed we are in Osoyoos to have that many. So, and great words. I really, those were good. Councillor Rhodes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I was going to jump on the opportunity to, excuse me, rant about all the various environmental causes, but I'm going to take a little bit different route. Just prior to Remembrance Day every year, I used to give a long, involved report about stories I've heard about war events and that kind of thing, but I want to just kind of go off on a little bit different track this time. And so right away, we got two really important dates coming up. November 11th, which is Remembrance Day, of course, and November 19th is our civic election day in Osoyoos. And you know, these two dates are really, really closely related. And if it wasn't for the sacrifices of lives by thousands of Canadians and so many armed conflicts over the years, we probably wouldn't be having an election on November 19th. And I think that that's very important that people realize that. So over the last 10 or 15 years, we have a pretty deplorable record in Osoyoos, and has to do with voter turnout. And in 2008, we had approximately 3,850 eligible voters in Osoyoos, and only 46% of those turned out to vote. 51% in Oliver, if anybody's interested. That figure was 10% lower than the voter turnout in 2005, and many, many percentages less than in 2002. Registered voters under 40 years old, 30%. Those statistics are not entirely accurate. I got them from the Osoyoos Times. I have a belief that they're probably pretty close. Says a lot about what we're doing in Osoyoos. We're starting off well in the past, and we're getting worse and worse every year. Provincially, federally, we're doing the same thing. In the 2008 federal election that we had the worst voter turnout in the history of voting in Canada. And we should be ashamed of that, because that's what it's all about. But now that I've gone, and ranted about that a little bit, I'd like to offer some of the reasons why we should be voting. So I have 6 quick points here I'd like to go down. The first one being, the only way democracy works is if its citizens, young and old, are active participants. A government by the people, for the people, it just can't work without the people. Secondly, if you don't vote, you really have no right to complain about government decisions and that you don't like, and no matter how much they actually suck. So what I'm trying to say is that lots of times people make bad decisions in government, but you can't complain about it. This point is debated endlessly by people much smarter than me all over the world. Third one is, bottom line is, you should vote because you can. And if I got to explain that, it's a gift. And believe it or not, people in Canada have fought and died to protect your right to vote. And I got to ask, would you give your life to vote? Tough question to answer. Number 4, voting ensures that your opinion is taken into account. Elected officials formulate policies that govern health care, education, fixing your street, making sure that your poop goes in the right direction, taxes, and other vital issues in your life. Number 5, every vote makes a difference. Some people think that it makes no sense to vote since it doesn't make any difference. Well, I got to tell you, if everyone thought that way, our lives as we know it would change drastically for the worse. And finally, my favorite one, contempt. We've all been angered by something that a politician has done or not done that affects our life in a negative way. What an awesome opportunity to get even. So on November 11th, please remember and respect the essence of that day. And on November 19th, let's get out there and vote. It's so, so important for us to do that.
Thank you, Councillor Rhodes. Councillor Ryan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, it's been a busy several weeks since we had our last meeting, and I want to tell you about a couple of films I saw. The first one was The Big Year. I went to Oliver and saw The Big Year, and it was nice to see Osoyoos in there, but boy, you sure had to keep your eyes on the screen because it went by very quickly. But it was a fun one, very, very interesting and well done, beautiful scenery, and a lot of birds. The other one was, and I was joined by my fellow councilors, was a film that was held at the Elks on Thursday, the last Thursday of October, called Poor No More. And it was about some of the issues that are the young people in the Occupy downtowns of our cities are talking about. It was about this great gap between the rich and the poor in our country and around the world. And I just want to invite you to come to this series. It's a group of local people who are putting it on, and they're sort of cutting-edge issues. And the next one is going to be on Mexican migrant workers in Canada, called El Contracto. And so I invite you to come at the Elks the last Thursday of November at 7 o'clock. Some other happenings, too, that I want to tell you about. The Wild Guys, which is the South Okanagan Amateur Players, they're putting something on at the end of this month, the last Friday and Saturday, the 25th and 26th, up at the Mini Theater. And it's a comedy about 4 guys who go out to on a sensitivity weekend in the woods. Very, very funny. We, your council, are on Channel 18 being interviewed. And so if you would like to hear more of us, just tune into Channel 18 and you'll hear about not only us, but also all the candidates for council here in, and I guess the candidates for mayor as well here in Osoyoos. So thanks to Channel 18 for doing that. I want to also tell you about a special committee of the BC legislature on cosmetic use of pesticides in lawns and so on. And they would like to hear from citizens up to the middle of December. And I'm going to ask if we can get something about this on our website or some e-news about it. But if you just go to your computer and just Google BC Committee on Cosmetic Pesticides, you'll probably find it. I've cut this out of the newspaper, but we'll try to get something out from the town on this. And the Cassie Day, of course, next Wednesday, and advanced voting this Wednesday here at the town hall from 8 to 8. So make sure you come either to the early one or to the one on the regular day on the 19th. I'd like to thank a lot of people. I'd like to thank our CAO, Barry Romenko, and his senior staff. They've just been wonderful, and we put a lot of burden on them, and the reason we look so good sometimes is because they've done a lot of work on our behalf and teed up things for us. Also to my fellow councilors, it doesn't seem like 3 years, and I look around and some people that I didn't know very well, I know very well now, and we work together, and it's been very harmonious and I think very productive. And the other group of people I'd like to thank are you at home watching. When I've gone around canvassing and campaigning, it's just amazing how many people say, oh, I watch you all the time on television. And these people are very knowledgeable. They read the paper, they watch, and it's just wonderful. And so keep watching and always let us know. We're always open to hearing from you, either by phone or by email or whatever. And last but not least, I'd like to thank my dear wife who's sitting at home, hopefully watching. And this is our 41st wedding anniversary. And I'm going to go home and have dinner take her out for dinner. So be sure you vote. And thank you for voting for me and for us in the past 3 years. We hope that you are satisfied with our service.
Thanks, Councillor Ryan, and congratulations to you and Vera. That's that's great. I'm not going to take a lot of time up. It's obviously a busy time out there. I've been to Regional District Okanagan Smilkameen, sat at that board table. There's a few interesting differences that are appearing out there, sort of between rural and municipalities. So that's again quite an interesting situation. And I've been at Okanagan Basin Water Board. Kelowna, and that generated a lot of that muscle and things like that, and the summit report. After the summit report, I did have a glance going through, and I saw an email from Evo Teal. So he did respond as expected as soon as he got that summit report. I haven't read it yet, but I will. I also was involved with the Cassie group. And that's Community Action for Seniors Independence. I went out with them as they service some of their clients. Picked up three ladies, picked up 3 ladies and took them to medical appointments, and I got to go have coffee with a couple of them while I went to Tim Hortons while they were waiting for the other lady to come from her medical appointment, and some lab work, and then they were going grocery shopping, and it was really neat. Went out with the 2 drivers, and I was just sort of an apprentice helper learner. I think there was a bit of an arm twist there to look for a little bit more involvement, but I don't know if that's going to happen just yet. Anyway, we picked them up, and what a wonderful service, right at their doorstep, taking them where they want to go, waiting for them, doing this, and it allows these people to stay at home, and it's so much better for their health and their well-being. And then when you look at the tax dollar implications of that, I mean, if we can keep people at home, it's just so much better for all of our healthcare dollars rather than putting them in institutions. So So it's really worthwhile. I do have a phone number, and if you wanted to volunteer, I know they would be glad to have you volunteer. And I know if you need the service or know of somebody who could use that service, that they would be glad to hear from you also. And that is at 250-495-6925. And that they're located in the senior center. But a lot of times, people don't understand that what's available and whether there's a cost and all that. So if you know anyone at all that's interested as a volunteer helper or needs that service, please have them call that number. It's been a great 3 years with council. We certainly, somebody earlier said that it wasn't all smooth roads. I looked at a couple today, and talk about polar opposites. We were out there like this, and through dialogue, we managed to actually come to resolution on some issues. And I always find that quite amazing, that dialogue and that respect and that understanding can bring this together and move us through. Because there's some pretty not hard, well, some tough slugging. Getting through some of the issues, not all the time or anything, but it's certainly built on respect, full respect for Mr. Romanko and staff, and the people that work for the town. Very, very, very good. We don't really have any issues. We don't have any human resources issue. So it's really, really been positive. I've been really proud to be a part of the team that's been steering Osoyoos for the last 3 years, and and I guess I'm looking to do that for another 3 years. The voters will certainly tell us what they think about it. It's in their hands, and as Councillor Ryan and others said, Wednesday is the advance poll. So if you can beat the rush and go on Wednesday, that helps a lot. I'd like to thank Val and Channel 18. It's really a good tool for getting our message out to the community. So thanks a lot, and enjoy yourself, enjoy your evening, enjoy your dinner. Thanks a lot, folks, and good afternoon. Motion to adjourn, please.
Whoa.
Oh. Val, motion to adjourn, please. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Ryan.
Oh no, I pulled it. You said okay. You said I'll put that on.
Okay.
I'll record it for the next.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Say good night.
Oh, gee. Motion to adjourn. Okay. Mic's on, everyone on, lights, camera, action. Motion to adjourn, please. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Ryan, all in favor. We're adjourned.
Okay, got it now.